Hey guys, it's me, Army Man TV, and today I'm going to be doing something a little different. You see, recently me and a few other people did a watch party for a TV series known as Galidor, Defenders of the Outer Dimension, and now having watched the entirety of the show, which consisted of only 26 episodes for reasons I will get into later, I've decided that now would be a better time than ever to do a review slash retrospective on the show. You see, for those of you who don't remember, which is probably everyone watching, Galidor was a live-action sci-fi TV series that aired on YTV in Canada and on Fox Kids in the US. Now, one thing that might surprise you from looking at the images and footage that I'm showing on screen right now is that the show was actually made by LEGO. You see, during the early 2000s, LEGO was on the verge of financial ruin. This was mainly due to, well, quite a few factors. But one of the major ones was that LEGO thought that the LEGO brick sets they have been selling for years were simply not popular with kids anymore. So because of this, this led to the LEGO company experimenting heavily with new products during this time, with many of these products steering away from using the LEGO bricks the company had become so well known for. They were really throwing absolutely everything at the wall and hoping that something would stick. And out of all the company's experiments during this time, there was one that stuck. The one that stuck, of course, would be Bionicle, which is very fondly well remembered amongst LEGO fans, as well as people outside of the LEGO community. What set Bionicle apart from all the other themes that LEGO was creating at the time was that Bionicle was based off of an original story created by LEGO themselves. The only other product line LEGO was making that had a storyline was, of course, LEGO Star Wars, which was also pretty successful. As a result of the success of both of these themes, LEGO was convinced that the future of the company was in creating LEGO themes with detailed storylines attached to them. So because of this, LEGO began working closely with Disney to create a TV show that LEGO could release toys of. And this show was, of course, Galidor. So yes, this show is the reason Generation 1 of Bionicle never had a TV show. Now, spoiler alert, the show was a massive flop, only lasting 2 seasons and causing LEGO to plummet further towards bankruptcy. There are a few videos detailing how Galidor failed. There aren't many videos actually reviewing the series as a whole, and that's what I'm going to do. In this video, I will review all 26 episodes of Galidor, and hopefully through this review, we will be able to find out why Galidor was such a colossal failure. Now, before we start the first episode, I'd like to introduce my co-host for this video, my good friend Macdale. He was also at the Galidor watch party, and he will be helping me review the episodes in this show. You should also sub to him as he makes pretty funny videos, and is gonna be making more after the video is released.
Sup, I'm Dale, and I'm here to help Army Men on the N64 to view each episode of this appealing show, and to see if it's any good or... oh, who am I kidding? It sucks, it's a bad show. What is a bad show? Maybe there's something good in it. Well, there's only one way to find out. Back to you, Army Men.
Now, as far as the story goes, I'ma be honest, it's pretty much just Star Wars. If you have seen any Star Wars movie, then you've seen the majority of Galidor. I mean, the show is about a teenager who goes on a space adventure with a robot and 2 brave warriors on a quest to defeat an evil space tyrant ruling over the galaxy. The basic premise of the show is the exact same as the original trilogy of Star Wars, and even beyond that, many of the show's plot points are directly ripped from Star Wars and other sci-fi stories. Because of this, the show isn't really very interesting. And as for the characters, they aren't much better. Firstly, you have the main protagonist named Nick Bluetooth. Yes, his last name is actually Bluetooth. Now you may think that the decision to have the main character's last name be Bluetooth is incredibly stupid. Which you'd be correct, but as it turns out, the character was named after a Danish king by the name of Harold Bluetooth. Keep that in mind as it will be very important later. And alongside Nick is his best friend, Allegra Zane. Yes, her name is actually Allegra, as in the allergy medicine. Now, if you're wondering why she is named after allergy medicine, I have no clue. Your guess is as good as mine. Her whole personality is really that she likes karate, because this was the early 2000s, so of course her whole personality would be centered around karate. And then there's Jens, who is just C-3PO if you were a fan of Geeks and Gamers, and if you had a goofy-ass minion eye. And then there's Euripides and Nepal, who both sort of share the same personality. They're not really very interesting characters. They both have the very boring personality of quote-unquote brave warrior, and there's not much to them aside from that. Now that I have gone over the story and characters, let's dive right into the first episode of Galidor, Defenders of the Outer Dimension. Also, quick side note, the only copies of the episodes I could find are in 240p, so if the show looks like it was filmed on a moldy potato, that's why, sorry. Anyways, on with the episode. So it opens with some dude running while carrying an egg on an alien planet. Then the ground starts opening up, and we can see clearly here that Stranger Things ripped off the big gate scene from the end of Season 4 from Galidor. Honestly, I am so disappointed. I cannot believe Netflix and the Duffer Brothers would rip off Galidor like this. This is so sad. Anyways, after running for a few seconds, Gorm, appears and begins chasing this dude. Then, after almost falling into the Upside Down, he falls backwards in the most goofy way possible. And already this show makes no sense, because why on earth would he fall backwards? If anything, he'd fall forwards into the gate. But regardless, then after spitting some generic hero versus bad guy dialogue, Gorm uses telekinesis to steal the egg, and for some reason when he falls over trying to get it, the frame rate decreases to that of a PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, one thing you'll quickly notice is that the show's editing is just all over the place, and it leads to the show feeling more like an Indian soap opera than a sci-fi show. So then he tries to retrieve the egg and fails, and we get like a billion different cuts within 2 seconds. So then C-3PO grabs the egg, and then Darth Vader throws the dude into the Upside Down.
Go, take him! Now! Run!
That is your last command!
So now, it's revealed that it was all just a dream inside the head of Nick Bluetooth. So after the intro plays, it cuts to a classroom where the teacher is discussing evolution. And what you are about to see is the worst introduction of a main protagonist in a story I've ever seen.
Now, according to last night's reading, Homo sapiens, modern man, first walked the earth when? Allegra.
100,000 years ago?
That is correct. And I guess that's it for today.
But is that correct?
You're such a fool, Bluetooth.
All right, Nick. Are you saying that the textbook is wrong?
saying it's not completely right.
Not again.
I mean, how do we know some other civilization didn't exist before us?
Before the Homo sapiens. Something more advanced than we are today.
Because it's not in the books, thick brain.
They could have built, like, huge cities and teletransporters millions of years ago. And then they could have been wiped out by, like, the Ice Age. Or a meteor. Or something.
If you make me late for practice again, Bluetooth, you're gonna be wiped out by my meteor.
And you wonder why I'm your only friend.
Nick, scientists have carbon dated the bones of first man to 100,000 BC. It's a fact.
But they've only carbon dated the things they found.
Duh. What else are they gonna do it on?
Miss Browning, I would think as an educator, you of all people would want to open our minds to the possibilities outside of what's been so blindly accepted by the short-sighted people who write these books. I mean, how is that evolutionary?
Well, class dismissed. Except for Mr. Bluetooth.
Way to go, Blue Cool.
You know it's bad when the stereotypical jock character is more likable and reasonable than the main character. You know, aside from the whole meteor thing. Don't know about that. So we're only 3 minutes in and I already hate the main character. Great. So then it cuts to Nick talking to Benadryl in the middle of the woods as he continues being a pretentious dipshit.
Was it worth it?
2 hours of detention for 1 minute of enlightening a class full of dillweeds? Yeah, it was worth it. Why is it so hard to believe that there was another civilization before ours that no one knows about? Maybe even a different species.
Nick, everybody's not like you. We don't want to deal with fantasy, just reality.
How can you accept whatever you're told without checking out the other options? Without discovering the truth for yourself?
Does this have anything to do with your birthday tomorrow?
No.
Always happens around your birthday. Weird dreams? Think you're someone else? Way too many questions?
Yeah, whatever. Okay, now chill. I gotta focus.
So then after that load of verbal diarrhea, he begins preparing to bike down a mountain. And good God, the editor must have been having a stroke, because the editing here is just ridiculous. Like, what the hell am I looking at?
5, 4, be careful, 2, 1, go! Yeah! 17 seconds. Already? Nick, broken knee bend, you're going too fast! Not good. Nick! Nick! Nick!
Ah, so close yet so...
Dumb?
So then it cuts to Nick getting ready to go to sleep until his senile grandpa comes to talk to him about what happened at school earlier that day.
Nicholas.
Hey, Grandpa.
Mrs. Browning called again today.
Okay. Disagreed with her, told her I couldn't believe everything she was saying.
All right. Could you just disagree with a little less attitude?
So then his grandpa tells Nick about how his dad was also an obnoxious conspiracy nut when he was a teenager, so therefore it's okay to be an obnoxious conspiracy nut. I guess. How much you wanna bet Nick wasn't vaccinated? So then it cuts to another dream sequence where C-3PO and the gang are looking for the Stranger, who I assume is the dude we saw at the beginning of the episode. So then they get attacked by a swarm of bats until Nick wakes up and realizes it was all just a dream. Again. However, this time when he wakes up, he sees a floating iPad projecting some sort of a hologram. But then 2 seconds later, it cuts to Tylenol doing karate in her backyard. Get used to that, by the way. So then, after Nick explains what happens in his dream, he immediately theorizes that it's an alien computer, because what else would he think it is? Hell, he probably thinks it's turning the frogs gay or something. So then Claritin looks it up on the web, using my favorite search engine, Really knocking it out of the park with the creativity on that one, Lego. Then she begins doing some hacker shit on this Ancient Symbols website or something. Gotta love how one teenager is somehow figuring this whole thing out within only a few minutes. So then they begin walking in the direction of the coordinates on the map, and this manhole conveniently opens up for them. So then they go down the manhole, and there are stalactites in the sewers for some reason. So then, after some goofy-ass editing, they find a whole-ass spaceship in the sewers. Yeah, keep in mind, they are in the sewers. How has no one else found this ship before them? And also, is it me, or does the spaceship look suspiciously like a giant bow rock? What's even crazier about this is that this came out in 2002, the same year that the Bionicle Bow Rock storyline came out. So, yeah, that's quite a crazy coincidence in terms of the design of both the ship and the Bow Rock. So then Nick touches it, which for some reason causes this weird liquid effect. But then the ship opens up and Nick walks in. Then Nick places the iPad in the center of the ship, which causes it to start flying. So then the ship flies away while Nick and Advil start soy-facing.
Don't say that! Whoa! How awesome is this? Not awesome, Nick! Not awesome! Do something! I can't! It's doing what it wants! Nick! This is not a fun birthday party!
You okay?
No.
It's here that they realize they have landed on the planet Nick was seeing in his dreams. It's also here that they meet Jens.
This is ridiculous. Why did this land here?
What is that?
Okay, shouldn't have been on top of me. Who landed this here? Would you mind handing me my leg?
I wouldn't go near that thing.
It's okay.
So Nick gives a broken piece of his body to him, which magically fixes itself and attaches itself back to Jens. Okay?
Much better. You are not supposed to be here. Either of you.
Fine, I'm out of here.
Who's supposed to be here?
A great warrior is coming, with the map, to free Galidor and the entire dimension.
I've got the map.
No, you're not him, and she's not him. Only one is supposed to come. You stole this, didn't you?
No. It was sent to me, but I don't know how to read it.
Of course, you're not Euripides.
Back up a sec. Where on earth are we?
Here.
Where's here?
Here? That's a stupid question. Here is here.
Look, an hour ago, we're in your bedroom. Now, we're... I mean, it's... You know, this kind of thing doesn't just happen to me, so...
It was quiet here until she showed up.
She's okay once you get to know her.
I'm going to have to do a lot of repair work. Look at the wing and the torque thruster.
Nick.
Oh, what a mess.
What?
I don't know.
Well, guess we're crashing here tonight. No pun intended.
It's also revealed that Jens is also an annoying prick. Great, and he's also kinda sexist. You might not be buying it from that clip, but as you will see later on, Jens repeatedly shits on Allegra for no real reason other than she's a girl. Great. So then Nick and Pepto-Bismol sleep on a rock until Nick hears off-brand Leia calling his name.
Nicholas. Nicholas. Nicholas.
I've got my cock in my hand right now. I'm stroking it, thinking about you sucking me, dragging your mouth up and down my cock, playing with my balls.
Wait! Don't go! Who are you?
Nick! Nick, get up!
Oh no, Gorm! Get inside! Hurry! I'll prepare for takeoff!
I can't move! The wind's too strong! I can't get out!
Okay, I can't believe it's taken me this long to point this out. And I hate to be that guy, you know, the type of guy that just points at any visual effect and whines about it, quote-unquote, looking like a PS1 game.
My one complaint about the technical side of the show would be the CGI. I know it would have costed them even more money to do some of these effects practically. I'm at the very least glad Vecna was real makeup, that is unbelievable. But most of the upside down stuff in the back half of the season is giving me Spy Kids 3D.
Shut the fuck up! But I mean, come on, just look at this and tell me it doesn't look like garbage. Even back in 2002, there was much better looking CGI than this. I don't know why they didn't just make the whole show in CG, considering they use quite a lot of CG for the effects. So because of them choosing to do the show in live action, the effects just end up looking horrible. Anyways, so then Jens explains to Nick that he quote-unquote glinched, which is an ability that allows him to swap out a body part for that of someone else's or a machine part. I'm sorry, but glinching just has the same energy as morbing. It's hilarious. And the best part is that this ability was actually the main selling point behind the toys, which means that the toys could only be used to create unholy eldritch abominations like the ones you see on screen now. These deadass look like the shit Sid was doing to his toys in Toy Story. Who the hell thought this was a good idea?
Did you see that? I can't believe I just... How did I do that?
You're him! I knew it! You didn't fool me!
But how? I mean, my arm, it became yours.
You glitched. You took the form of my arm to protect your friend from Gorm. You're the warrior we've been looking for.
What does that thing want?
You! He doesn't want you here.
Why?
I don't think I have time to explain right now. We've got to get out of here to get Euripides. Gorm is still out there.
Nick, this is all too weird. You're not a warrior, you're Nick. My best friend.
Look.
Who are you talking to right now? Who is it you think you see? You clearly don't know who you're talking to, so let me clue you in. I am not in danger, Skylar. I am the danger. A guy opens his door and gets shot, and you think that of me? No. I am the one who knocks.
So that was the first episode. This episode should be a pretty good indicator of what's to come in the rest of the series. Campy acting, a ridiculous knockoff story, and awful visual effects. With that being said, my friend Macdale will now be taking over and will review the next episode. Take it away, Macdale.
Galidor, while not a prodigious embodiment of what makes LEGO unique, still finds greatness from its other assets, such as its immersive lore and—
Shut your bitch ass up!
So episode 2 opens up with the egg flying across the sky, and inside Jens and Nick. Speaking of Jens, I would like to point out that Jens says this.
I suggest you go below and make sure your human baggage is prepared to land.
Why yes, I like a robot that's base. Truly something I needed. Anyway, then a little monitor pops up showing Allegra pushing some buttons, and because of that, Nick has to go and confront her in a one-to-one conversation. Nick goes and confronts Allegra, and what we learn from this is that Allegra's actually pushing buttons so that she can find a way home.
This reverses the thrust.
Wait, you don't know what that—
We'll be home before you know it.
Wow, Allegra almost killed Nick because of her sheer incompetence. Like, really? What was it meant to do again?
This reverses the thrust.
Well, that's not true, because you two almost died because of this. Absolute morons. Anyway, Nick and Allegra managed to save themselves, but because of their stupid squabble, it results in the egg crashing. Anyway, after the epic gamer intro, Jens checked to see if the gang's alright, and he says this.
Quite a craft. So easy, so smooth.
The gang went outside, and looking around, Nick found a small crater with a tiny trampoline in it.
No way.
So Nick tries to jump on it.
Nick, I wouldn't do that.
This is so fast. You gotta try.
And then our hero, a person who almost died. Yippee. Unfortunately, Nick is getting saved by Allegra.
Darn.
Anyway, Jens is on about Euripides and as to where it is. Allegra says,
What's the deal with this Euripides guy?
and Jens reacts.
I think you've upset him.
Yeah, moving on. One conversation, and one montage later, the gang head to the mountain that they need to go, and
Once we're on top, Euripides will be there. But how to get there? May I see the map, please? You do have the map, don't you?
really? You forgot the map? Really? I feel like the map is kind of important, you know? Also, may I mind you that the whole conflict of this episode is gonna happen all because they forgot to get the map. You will see. Watch. Because these guys are bad at their job, Nick has to part way with them for a bit so he can get the map back, whilst the other two have a bit of an argument with each other.
No, that won't work. You weren't even supposed to be here.
Galidor and some freak named Gorm who's destroying everything. I don't need it. I need to go home and eat my mom's horrible meatloaf and pretend that it's edible, okay?
Quality. Meanwhile, Nick heads back to the egg, but he almost makes it. What do I mean by that? Watch. Oh no, oh Jesus, Nick got kidnapped. Yay! Oh no, who would do something so evil as to kidnap someone? Well, it's none other than the Aquad. Who? It doesn't matter, Nick is getting tied up right now, and they're gonna do something bad to him. That being...
Who's that?
We're always thirsty. With the lakes and streams gone, we get our moisture any way we can.
You unhook me and I'll help you get all you want.
You already have.
Oh no, they're going to suck him off. I mean, suck his blood off. Yeah, that's what I mean. Segway. I mean, Jens and Allegra climbing up the mountain, which this would like lead to a conversation. Jens says Allegra was not meant to be here, and Allegra is on about wanting to leave the outer dimension and return to home. Well, duh. Jens' rebuttal with saying that the Earth was a hiding place for Nick. And wait, what?
Your home is insignificant. It was a hiding place for Nicholas.
What?
Gorm would have found him in the outer dimension, so the stranger had us bring him to Earth.
His dreams.
They were his memories. All of this.
Wow, that's a bombshell of information right there. I don't even know what to say, other than... Oh look, the egg. Oh no, not Allegra. Anyone but Allegra. No. Cut to Nick getting his blood sucked by the Aquad. Nick says something to the effect of, wait until Euripides comes and kicks your ass and like kicks down your sandcastle. And then the Aquads say, no, Euripides is like dead.
They don't come here. They don't come anywhere. Oh, God.
They all dried up. Never adapted.
Oh no, what's the point of buying the toy then? Anyway, Nick is getting his blood sucked, and one of the Aquads want to get a bit of a sip, but...
I'm not done!
Nick takes full advantage of the situation and flees himself from the ropes and escapes. Cut to Allegra holding on for dear life while Jens kind of berates her. Well, at least Jens helped her at the end with the power of bad CGI by his side. After that, it cuts to Nick trying to escape the epic gamer cave. He almost did it, but he got caught. Yeah, that's right, he got caught by a different Aquad named... California? What kind of fucking name is California? After some unfunny squabble, oh god, this scene's gonna happen, brace yourself. Nick gets thrown across the cave, then Californic starts screaming for no reason, and then Gorm appears?
Was Benito does not understand.
Let's break that down. A. Why did Californic throw Nick across the room? What was the reason? What was it because he was like chewed on a bit? Like that is still food and he's like gonna get away and he still want to eat him, which will be like shown later on. So what was the reason? B. Why did Californic scream? Was it to summon Gorm? I mean, it's clearly not because he's acting surprised, and what you would presume the obvious motive was, no, he's like hiding Nick, so it's clearly not that. I don't even know what to say. Can we just like move on? It cuts to Allegra and Jens walking to the crash site, and they're having a conversation about how Gorm destroyed the outer dimension, which leads to some lame exposition about how Jens actually used to be a plant man or something like that. And then like Gorm set him on fire, and then he like transferred his consciousness into a robot body, and I don't fucking know, man. I just want to get to the end of this episode, you know, get over with. Jens and Allegra head over to the egg. Allegra runs towards the egg, and then Jens says this.
I'm glad to see you didn't crash land.
Allegra gets inside the egg, and spoilers, it's not Nick, it's Euripides! Allegra reacts by wanting to fight him, but Euripides can lift her in the air like that. Then Jens introduced Euripides to her. Whilst that happened, it cuts to Gorm and the Aquad having a conversation with one another, which, now I'm saying that out loud, kind of realize, like, was that really a necessary transition? Like, we really could not have, like, a little bit more screen time? Okay, sure. After a brief conversation, Gorm leaves, and then Californic takes Nick, cause he's...
You're far too important to hand over to Gorm. I'm thirsty.
Cut to the gang interacting with one another, which basically means that it just gives an explanation for Euripides, and that doesn't matter. Why? It's because the gang found out that if Euripides was the only driver, that must mean that Nick didn't made it. Oh no! So they gotta go rescue him. And for some reason they're going to assume that it's the Aquad who did it. Despite the fact there are probably way more aliens out here than just them. But, okay. Yeah, that's totally not contrived at all. So our heroes turned out to be right, and they head to the epic Aquad Gamer Cave so they can confront them and save Nick, which would culminate into the worst fight scene you've ever seen. Or at least one of the worst. Don't believe me? Watch.
You're out of practice, Euripides! Too slow for your own good!
Oh my god, what on earth is this fight scene? Do you need me? Look at this. It's so bad. We're almost done. Let's do this. So the gang basically wins the fight. Like, of course they're gonna win. No surprise there. So the gang heads back to the egg, and Allegra says how she feels bad for all the war crimes she committed, but Nick tells her not to feel bad about it. Jens and Euripides tells the other two the plan, also telling them that they need to get one more member, that being Nepal.
What's in Nepal?
And then it ends on a bad callback.
Come on. Isn't this better than eating your mom's meatloaf and pretending it's edible?
I like my mom's meatloaf.
And now the episode is over. Yes. Thank God. Please end me. Episode 2 is just so lame. It's not a very interesting episode, and it's pretty stupid too. Like, literally, if Jens just waited, the episode is done. If the gang followed Nick back, the episode's over. If Euripides didn't, like, drive the egg, the episode's over. Also, I just realized that the ship is not called the egg, it's called the Trans-Dimensional Module, TDM I think, but I'm still gonna call it the egg because I don't care. Oh, and like the stupid exposition, like Jens being a plant person, or the real origin of Earth. It was such a disappointment. Like, those could have been like interesting, like, little mysteries that would like make the show at least somewhat engaging. But no, they were just dumped onto us. It's like, here, have all this. And yeah, it's just, it does not lead to a very good viewing experience. There was some unintentional hilarity, but that is like few and far between. It's a pretty lame episode. Back to you, Army.
Now we're on to episode 3 of Galidor, titled All for One, One for Nepal. So the episode starts with the gang walking through a forest looking for Nepal, the blue dude. But then they walk in on Nepal making some weird-ass noises.
While in wait, I needed a meditational hibernation. Nepal had different requirements.
As did I. No matter. We must focus on the task at hand. Finding Nepal.
Getting to Galidor.
Going home.
Nepal, Galidor, home. Got it.
Nepal. Didn't even have to raise a fist against the Cybot armies.
Awesome!
Fun fact, that thing Euripides said about the quote-unquote Cybot armies is actually a reference to Lego Cybots. Lego Cybots was a cancelled Lego theme created by a Lego designer named Chris Faber, who would go on to pitch Bionicle to Lego. The line was Lego's first attempt at making an original story-based theme, years before Bionicle or any of the other early attempts at storytelling were ever released. So it's actually kinda cool that it was referenced here, to be honest.
Back off, Shorty!
I am Nepol, commander of Galidor's royal force. How dare you?
Nepal!
Jens, Euripides, put me down. You brought strangers into my training camp.
They're not outsiders. This is Nicholas, the one we've been waiting for. You're the great warrior?
No offense, dude. You're not what I expected. He's like tiny.
The fuck you say to me?
And this?
I know, but she's not all bad.
Bro, what? This is what I mean when I say Jens is a sexist cunt. She has literally done nothing wrong except exist as a girl, and Jens just shits on her for no reason. And the show doesn't even portray this as a flaw. It seems like the show is portraying Jens as being correct for shitting on her for no reason other than seemingly the fact that she's a girl. Honestly, at this point, I'm just rooting for Gorm to win, considering that all of these people from the outer dimension seem to just be sexist bastards. So after that, Nick and Allegra sit at a campfire and begin to listen to Jens and Nepol's war stories.
I was imploded.
That must have really hurt.
It was no picnic.
Is it just me or is this fire freezing?
Nepal is from the frozen realm of Elta Siktar. Hot is cold, and cold is hot.
We were near the outer perimeter of Keck Prison.
Oh boy, looks like I have to address it. So in the outer dimension, there is a planet called, you'll never believe this, Keck. There was even a toy released by LEGO titled the Keck Powerizer, which essentially functioned as a handheld game console with really shitty motion controls, but we'll be discussing that more later. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, it's because Keck is now a 4chan slang term. So yeah, that definitely aged like fine milk. But oh no, it looks like the thing that has been creeping through the forest has now attacked Nepal. And oh my god, the camera work in this scene is just too much. I can barely tell what's even happening.
Everyone back! Just stay back! I can handle this!
What was that?
Malapines!
Hungry Malapines.
So then after he gets rid of the thing, Euripides tells Nepal to lie down, but instead he just starts running around because his defining character trait is that he can run fast, I guess. So now the main cast is in search of the antidote for the venom that is now in his body.
There it is! I knew we'd find one sooner or later.
What exactly did we find?
Looks like a junkyard.
What are we looking at, Jens?
Dimension traders. Anything, anytime. They collect, they repair, they sell throughout the outer dimension.
It's freezing in this desert.
It's the outer dimension.
Remember, we have nothing. Don't tell we have a transport, or they'll find it and strip it to the bone.
Jens, don't you think you should have told them that before you entered the building? They can probably hear you. So then they enter the shop, and the shop owner comes out to greet them.
Travelers! Welcome! Welcome to my little oasis. So sorry, these criminals, no manners, none at all. Come!
So then the shop owner makes them this really weird drink and gives it to Nick and Allegra. They then try to purchase the antidote, but unfortunately they have no chromer, so Nick agrees to do work for him in order to get the antidote. So then we see that Euripides has been taking care of Nepal while he's asleep. He goes to get more water, but then Gorm appears out of nowhere. He offers to give him the antidote under the condition that Gorm tells him where Nick is. So then it cuts to Nick, Allegra, and Jens doing work for the shop owner.
Whoa, cool.
Don't touch that, you fool.
What is it?
Put it down and get back to work.
Nick, come on. Nepal's sick. Just do the work so we can get him the medicine.
All right. I just think it's cool.
Nick, just drop it!
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry, but this literally looks like a PNG they superimposed into the video. And the low frame rate of the effect really doesn't help with this either.
You're worthless. You think this will save your friend. You think wrong.
Look, I'm really sorry. I just wanted to... It was an accident?
Nick.
I'm okay if anybody cares.
See, this is the problem with the show. They portray Nick in the most smug, unlikable way possible, yet we're still expected to root for him. He's literally the worst choice for a main hero character. So then, for some reason, Yen starts personally attacking him for collecting stuff, I guess.
Our work here is done. If we could just have our cell valve.
Yeah.
You've destroyed my yards. Released my season of collections.
This is a collection yard? Those weren't criminals?
What? Jens, what's wrong?
He's a collector. They're the lowest form of existence throughout the outer dimension.
Jesse, what the fuck are you talking about?
What? No, we simply collect the lost, the aimless, the wandering, and give them a home.
You steal people from their homes to feed Gorm's labor forces.
I steal nothing. I take those who have abandoned Gorm and return them to him.
You hunt the displaced creatures of the outer dimension and sell them back to Gorm!
What? What? Why the hell would you just accuse him of that out of nowhere?
What the fuck?
So are the objects in his shop the people of the outer dimension? How does Jens know this? Why is this being brought up now, out of nowhere? I am literally so confused right now. Also, weren't you just about to buy from him like an hour ago? This makes literally no sense at all.
You cost me! Vilda's going to kill me.
Why would I do that? Drakmir.
What the fuck is— what is that?!
What? Okay, what the actual hell is happening? So then it cuts back to Gorm and Nepal, and Nepal attempts to attack Gorm and fails. This causes Gorm to break the serum. So then the shopkeeper sacrifices Nick and his buddies to the weird evil lady, but not before Allegra prepares to fight her. So now, Jens is shooting lightning out of his hands. So then Nick grabs the serum, and the shop owner starts chasing him. So then, I guess Nick ran all the way back to where Euripides and Nepal are. So then in order to motivate Nepal to not be dead, he starts belittling him?
It's too late.
What do you mean it's too late? He's gotta take this.
The venom has attacked his nerves. His body is shut down. He's too hot.
Allegra and Jens are gonna be enslaved. We can't stop now. We need him to help us find Galidor. It can't end like this. Is this why I'm here, huh? To be lost forever? No home, no family, no future? I thought you were a great warrior. You could survive a blast that destroyed your entire battalion, but you can't survive a little bite on the arm? Did he?
Give him the Selvald.
I mean, I guess that's one way to do it. So then Allegra and the rest are enslaved until Nick, Euripides, and Nepal somehow find where they are being imprisoned and defeat the evil lady. And also Nick glinches, so I guess that's cool as well. Honestly, this episode was fairly coherent up until the part where Jens just started going off on the shop owner. This is an awful way of doing a twist villain. Instead of building up to the reveal in a way that, you know, makes sense, they just had Jens reveal out of nowhere that he's evil, which makes me question why he didn't bring this up earlier if he supposedly knew that he enslaved people, or why, I don't know, he didn't use his frickin' stretchy arm to steal the antidote, you know, when he had the chance. I'm guessing that this twist was thrown into the episode because the writers realized that having the main character destroy an innocent person's shop would make him look pretty unlikable, you know, like he's not already unlikable. So to fix this, they made him into the twist villain to make Nick's reckless behavior look less bad, I guess. The problem is that this results in the episode making literally 0 sense at all. So the next episode is titled Dust Till Dawn, and already the editor is trying to make me vomit because of the extremely over-the-top editing. So after Nick is finished running around like a madman, it's revealed that he's running extremely fast because he glinched Nepal's legs onto himself.
You glitch and you accomplish nothing.
Nepal, my man, you gotta look at it like this. Right? Glitching is an acquired talent. The more I do it, the better I get. The better I get, the better warrior I become. And the better warrior I become, the better off we are. Huh?
So where's the key, Mr. Warrior?
I'm on it. Be back in a flash. Oh man, my Glinch wore off.
Guess you'll need to acquire a little more talent.
Weather changes pretty quick around here.
What's going on?
I'm not sure!
Allegra, you're from Earth. You mean to tell me you've never experienced a little bit of wind before? So Nick, Nepal, and Allegra go looking for the key fragment and find it hidden within a statue.
That was easy. It's incredible.
This look familiar, Nepal?
Oh no!
Nepal, what's with the statue?
It's not a statue. It's a Zoran victim.
Victim?
Zorons are able to take life out of creatures and turn them into this. In a Sectari microdonal.
What? This guy, he tripped and fell in the back of McDonald's? Subscribe to my YouTube channel.
So, I guess I was right about the thing about people being turned into inanimate objects from the previous episode. So Nepal explains that the wind from earlier is actually the thing that turned the person into a statue. Also, for some reason, the camera keeps zooming in on the statue with a blue tint because whoever edited this show must have been a fucking meth addict. So after the intro, it cuts to the gang walking through the forest, all while being stalked by an unknown creature in the forest again.
You're not really freaked out by this Zoran, are you?
It's, nothing I can't handle.
Meaning you've handled one before? Nepal?
There you are!
Don't jump out like that.
So then after Jens jump scares them, he explains that he and Euripides are looking through the forest for fuel. So then Nick brings up that there's a Zoran. And then Euripides and Jens freak out about it.
Nepal's a little worried about a Zoran in the neighborhood.
A Zoran?
Where are you going?
Gorm uses Zorons to keep discipline and order. We don't need to confront one.
From what I've seen, I'm going with the big guy on this one.
But we can't go anywhere without corium. We need fuel.
All right, I'll go with Jens and get the corium.
You're not going alone.
Fine. Come on. But I think I can handle a Zoran. I mean, with my Glinch thing working and everything.
Nick, that Glinch thing isn't working that well.
Take Euripides back to the egg. Jens, Nepal, let's go get some quorum.
Nick, just watch your back, okay?
I'm fine. Catch you later.
Okay. I checked every hatch, every window, every vent shaft. We're locked up tighter than my gym locker.
Thank you, Allegra.
You okay?
I don't feel much like a member of the royal court of Galidor right now.
What are you talking about?
I forgot to check the fuel levels. Forgetting put us all in grave danger. I wonder sometimes if I really am needed on this quest.
Yes, this must be the foreman's quarters. Hello? Hello? Hello. We would like some quorium.
You want quorium?
Yeah?
No one, nowhere gets quorium. His whole mind goes to Gorm.
Gorm?
Yes, to run his data core.
My process powering Gorm's evil machine?
Your process?
I was the first to process quorium from coral to power Galidor's central generator. It's why I was appointed to Rihanna's court.
Rihanna's court? There wasn't a mechanic in Rihanna's court.
He's not a mechanic. He's Jens. This is what Gorm turned him into.
Jens?
Yes, I'm Jens. Oh,
You're alive!
Please, sir!
Alive and on a mission? I'm Nick.
Okay, but how does he know he's Jens? For all this dude knows, Nick could have made that shit up.
Thank you. Yes. Right. Good. May I offer you some lunch?
Yeah, lunch would be... Just ate.
We need fuel for our transport.
To continue our mission?
Say no more. Now, let's keep this just between us. We take some quorium from Gorm now and then, trade it for food, clothing.
So you guys are scamming Gorm. Sweet.
I believe we can let you take a little of this. Now remember, please don't say anything about where you got the quorium, just to be on the safe side.
What quorium?
You stole from my master! You will pay with your life! You will pay for betraying Gorm! If you are no use to Gorm, you will be of no use to anybody! I'll handle it!
Nice shot, Nepal. Dude, he can so handle his aura. Maybe need a little backup. Come on. Stay right. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Oh, come on, what's the matter? Didn't eat your spinach? I'm new. I'm back.
Ooh, that's gotta hurt. You don't want any more of me. Walk out of here!
I don't know why they were so afraid of it, if all they had to do to get rid of it was to hit it in the face with a trash lid. Talk about an Avengers level threat, am I right? So then after that, we get to see Euripides and Allegra talking to each other.
You see, the stranger looked to me to guide Nick, to teach him. And what guidance have I given him? I tried to give him wisdom, and
he's... like, whatever.
The lowlands. That was where my people lived. It was filled with streams, trees. Our tribe flourished. Then, after I turned against Gorm, he laid waste to the lowland forests. My people couldn't hide from the fire.
I'm so sorry.
I love how Allegra's actress has the acting skills of a text-to-speech robot. I'm so sorry. Legit Jens has more emotion in his voice, and he's a literal robot.
Me too. Because I turned against Gorm. They are no more. I should have been with them in their final days.
What could you have done for them?
Nothing. I could have done nothing. Just as I can do nothing for Galidor.
I've never seen anything like that.
All he did was hit him in the face with a trash lid. You mean to tell me no one has tried anything like that before? So then the dude explains that everyone in the mine is gonna have to go into hiding to avoid Gorm, since he got caught in 4K scamming him. So then Jens tells him a place he can hide from Gorm in. So then we cut back to Euripides and Allegra talking again.
Galidor. Lost Galidor. It was the most beautiful realm. It was a place where all the realms of the outer dimension gathered to make together what they could not make alone. It was a moment in time. It was hope.
Wow.
And Queen Rihanna, she saw what was best in each and made them believe in themselves.
I hope I get to meet her someday.
You will, Allegra. You will. We will find all the key pieces, and we will reach Galidor. I am Euripides, philosopher to the court of Galidor. I will not fail. And with my guidance, Nicholas will defeat Gorm. Don't be sad, child. We will overcome.
Euripides. Thanks for cheering me up.
That's what I'm here for.
You nasty ass bastard! You fucking nasty ass motherfucker! That's nasty, man!
Euripides, you're not her dad, so isn't it a little weird that you just kissed some random kid on the cheek? I don't know, man. To me, that's a little sus, not gonna lie. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's not that weird. Maybe I'm just uncomfortable by the idea of anyone being kissed by a giant frog man, but I don't know. That's a little weird, you know. Makes me kind of uncomfortable, to be honest.
Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake and then go back home. There was, nothing that was going to be sexual involved, because I'm not like that, well, obviously the text messages and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But yeah, that was...
You're moving too fast.
You're tired. You.
No, you're being careless. You'll be right on top of it before we even notice.
All right, here's the plan. I'll lure it close, Glinch into Euripides' legs, jump up, then you ice it. Then I whack him into cubes.
That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard.
Chillax. That loser's got my key fragment. He's going down. Excuse me. I think you got something in mind. Yeah, I said it better myself. Dude! A little focus here? Come on, Glinch me, baby. Come on, Glinch! Glinch! Come on, Glinch!
Nick! Abandon the plan! Run!
Nepal!
Think something!
I can't! Okay! It was a stupid plan!
Plan? It wasn't even close to a plan!
Just get me out of this! What are you doing? It's working! Oh, just stop it.
You fight fire with fire. You stop a tornado with a tornado.
Huh?
So then, after ripping off Doctor Who, they arrive at a generic futuristic city.
Look out!
Glinch! Glinch! I can give up this time.
Nick, fight fire with fire.
Oh yeah!
Ah! You did it!
Well, that was easy. And so, that's where the episode ends. What can I even say about it? I guess it wasn't as outrageously stupid as the previous episode I covered, but it still isn't very good. The fight scenes are terrible. The fight scenes are less about Nick actually fighting back, and more about Nick using his glinching ability in a quote-unquote clever way, but most of the time it's just some dumb bullcrap that doesn't even make sense, and it ends up making the fight scenes more boring to watch. This is a common trend with the show that you'll definitely be seeing more of in the coming episodes. So yeah, that episode was pretty lame. So the next episode is titled Crack in the Map. It starts with the gang quickly flying through the city. Jens explains that the ship is being attacked. So then Allegra explains that quote-unquote something is happening to Euripides in Nepal. So then the CGI bugs from episode 4 appear and start attacking the window. Then after closing the windows, Nick crashes the ship into a building, killing all of them instantly.
That thing is not an illusion!
Gorm must have figured out how to give them mass! Allegra, hold on!
Don't worry about me! Worry about that!
Not a problem.
Okay, never mind. They somehow survived the impact, I guess, and it seems they've landed at a transformer station. So then Jens explains through some sci-fi mumbo-jumbo that they can make themselves invisible to Gorm's scanners. So then Nick tells Allegra to get his wrench, and she reveals that she was looking through his father's journal. Then he gets mad at her, for some reason.
Anybody know what a torning wrench is?
Yeah, sure. I just read about them. I'll go get it. According to your father's journal, it's this.
What are you doing?
Getting you a torning wrench?
I mean with my father's journal.
Checking out all the stuff he made. It's like a roadmap to how things work. It could probably tell us how to get back home.
There's personal stuff in there. It's not just for anybody.
Anybody. I'm just anybody.
Allegra, I don't think Nicholas meant any disrespect.
No. That's exactly what he meant. Sorry. Here.
So thus, this episode's contrived drama has begun. So after this, Allegra throws the journal out the door in anger, and because of this, the book gets electrocuted and burned. So we then get more great acting from Allegra's actress.
What happened?
This is what happened.
Nick. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so am I.
You know I didn't mean to...
It was the only chance I had to get to know my father.
And okay, what Allegra did was wrong, but it wouldn't have happened had Nick not been so irrational. So it's hard for me to really feel bad for Nick here, considering the fact that this wouldn't have happened had he not been so irrational over someone else reading his dad's book, which contains important information for their mission. So this whole drama between these two characters is just kind of dumb, to be honest. So then he throws the burned book into the transformer, which causes a blackout throughout the whole city. So then Nick is arrested for this, and then it immediately cuts to Nick and Euripides in what appears to be a courtroom, but I don't know, it looks more like a rave to me than anything. Honestly, if I were about to be given the death sentence, I'd want it to be given to me in this courtroom, cause come on. Deadass looks like Drake is about to start singing the American Dad theme song while this dude is being sentenced.
It's the remix, Lois. Let's go. Good morning, USA. I've got a feeling that it's gonna be a wonderful day. The sun in the sky has a smile on his face, and he's signing a salute to the American race. The boy is well to say, good morning, USA. Good morning, USA.
Mr. Nicholas Bluetooth? That can't be your real name.
Why not?
That is my client's real name, Your Honor.
Wow, even the judge lady thinks the name Nick Bluetooth is stupid as hell. It's almost like the writers knew that was a dumb name. So because Nick is a dumbass, he fucks up the court case and is sent to Detroit to atone for his crimes.
Take him to Detroit. No! No, not Detroit! No! No, please! Anything with that! No!
So then Allegra starts talking like a 4chan green text, and because Jens is a boomer, he doesn't get it.
Okay, so you're me, right?
How can I be you?
Never mind. And Nick goes, don't read my book. And I say, sorry, and toss it back.
I'll teach him to catch better.
That's not the point.
So then it's revealed that apparently Euripides is like a lawyer or something who can get all of Nick's charges dropped. So then the judge lady explains that a quote-unquote
Infopathogen virus
wiped out the maps to the other planets in the outer dimension. So, wait a minute, is it a computer virus or an actual virus? What on earth does that word salad even mean? So then Nick hands their map to the judge. And I'm sorry, but the editing in this scene is actually just hilarious. Just watch.
Could you please repeat the question?
For the last time, are you aware that an infopathogen virus wiped out all the maps to the other realms?
Well, see, we're from...
Don't try the I'm from another realm defense in my court.
Why not?
No one gets into Drichelvin, and no one gets out without a map. Unless you're the stranger, or Gorm, or a member of the Royal Court of Galidor.
Well, let's go there for a minute.
Order, you've wasted enough of my time.
Look, I don't know anything about the info pope, whatever. But if there are no maps, what do you call this?
Junk. And I charge you with contempt for insulting the court.
There's no readout. It's broken.
When your bag hit the transformer.
How are we gonna find the key fragments? And Galidor? I mean, mission over. We're toast.
Mr. Nicholas Bluetooth, you are hereby sentenced to 300 cycles of maintenance on Drichelvin transformers to repay your debt for the cumulative lost productivity of 5 million Vinix for 1/2 Dronal. Take him away.
Euripides, you're off the payroll!
Oh, great. Couldn't you get him a sentence doing something safe? Like juggling chainsaws?
This realm has lost its grasp on fairness and proportion.
I mean, he did fuck up a bunch of Transformers, so I'd say the punishment of having to fix all of them is pretty justified. So then Euripides uses his staff to make Allegra fly over to Nick, and we get some amazing green screen effects. Deadass looks like a totally Studios video.
172. What are you doing here?
Keeping you from falling off a 1,000,000-story building. Sorry.
I think you've helped me enough for one day.
That is so not fair.
Not fair. Not fair is you invading my privacy.
I mean, I don't remember Nick at any point telling Allegra not to open the journal, and that journal had important information for the mission, so I don't know how it was an invasion of privacy, but go on, I guess.
Not fair is you destroying something that probably meant the world to my father.
Nick, can you please be mad at me when we're back at the egg we need to book your prime gorm bait?
What we have here is a failure to communicate, Mr. Bluetooth. I don't see recapacitators being replaced.
What is wrong with you people? You have him replacing light bulbs?
Recapacitators?
Whatever. For the rest of his life for a couple of seconds of blackout?
Allegra, stop.
I mean, a couple of seconds?
It only took an instant for the infopathogen virus to wipe out all our maps. A blink of the eye to cut us off from Galidor and the rest of the outer dimension. And here you are with a ridiculous story about a map and a flying egg.
Why didn't you just send some explorers or something to remap the place?
We did. They didn't come back.
Some explorers?
My daughter was one of the last.
Okay, but why would you send your own daughter on such a dangerous mission like that? Well, apparently the YouTube automatic captions had an answer for us. Because when she says,
my daughter was one of the last,
YouTube thought she said, quote-unquote, it was for the laughs. So I just love the implication that she sent her own daughter on a dangerous mission for the lols. God, I love YouTube's automatic captions.
She didn't know.
Now she does. And she'll share your sentence.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
So, just for accidentally insulting your daughter, she now has the same sentence Nick has? And there's no court case to determine this? She can just declare it whenever she wants to? Okay, maybe Euripides was right. The justice system in this dimension is completely whack if you can just sentence people like that. I mean, what's the point of even having court cases to begin with? This makes literally no sense at all. So then it cuts to Jens trying to fix the map. Then Nepal starts yelling for some reason and the ship begins shaking.
Okay, I got ticked off.
Okay, so when I first watched this scene, I deadass thought she said, I got TikTok, which just made me laugh at the absurdity of her bringing that up out of nowhere given the situation.
I do that sometimes.
Yeah. So do I.
Nick.
Yeah?
I didn't mean to wreck your dad.
I know.
Why didn't she finish her sentence? Nick didn't start talking until she stopped speaking. So why'd she say it like that?
Without the map, the egg has no navigational source. It can't be controlled.
You're telling me this now?
Hey, isn't that the egg?
They got it running.
Kind of.
Incoming! Euripides! Hey! Levitation out of here!
Grab a hold.
I don't believe this.
It's so cool.
This film takes place less than a year after the September 11th terrorist attacks.
Got a blast!
Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that this scene wasn't cut, considering that people in the 2000s tried to tie everything back to 9/11 in some way, including LEGO. They canceled a Bionicle game that was supposed to be released in November of 2001, and one of the reasons LEGO gave was that they didn't want to release a game with violence in it so soon after the attacks.
By all accounts, the order to shut it down, which came from LEGO itself, was unexpected and sudden. Members of the development team were relayed an unofficial reason for cancellation by Sci-Fi's higher-ups, but some of them were skeptical of how reliable this information was. Multiple sources say that the justification given to them relates to a major event in world history that had taken place only 1 month prior. The attacks of September 11th, 2001. Allegedly, the managers of Sci-Fi claimed that LEGO no longer wanted to pursue a game with violence in it after 9/11, although, out of every developer that shared information in the making of this video, all of them found this reasoning to be incredulous. They assert that LEGO had closely overseen the project, receiving updates on a weekly basis, and would have voiced their concerns had they objected to any violence in the game. A good example of that in effect comes from Darvel Hunt, who was a programmer on the project. He was responsible for writing code for physics-based destruction that would cause enemies to shatter into individual LEGO pieces when they were destroyed. LEGO instructed him to cut this feature for being too violent.
So given that, I'm surprised that this scene managed to stay in the episode. So then they go back into the egg, and Nepal explains how he was able to start the ship without the map. It's also revealed here that Nick's dad made a backup of everything he made, because of course he did.
He made a backup of everything. That was his thing, right? So why not for
His life.
Okay, so I guess he just glinched the journal back into existence? That's definitely not a cop-out resolution to the story at all. And of course, the blueprints for fixing the map are also in the journal. So then the bugs start chasing them, and they manage to give Jens the part they need to go fast, just in time for them to get away. The amount of plot contrivances in this episode are staggering. So then it cuts to them in the ship, and the judge lady is here for some reason. So they then just give her a new map, and hey, wait a minute, where the hell did they get a second map from? And that's where the episode ends. This episode was pretty terrible. The idea of one of the characters having to go to court is actually one that I don't see very often in shows like this for children, but it's not executed very well at all. This is due to the fact that the court case wasn't really much of a court case, much as it was 3 people arguing in a dimly lit room. And I'm sorry, but the court system in this universe makes no fucking sense at all. Again, if the judge can just sentence people on a whim, then what's the point of even having a court system to begin with? I get that the whole idea is that the court system in the outer dimension makes no sense, but to be honest, I feel that the court is only portrayed in a bad light because Nick got sentenced for his crime. Nick caused a lot of damage to the city's power lines, all because of a stupid fight he started with Allegra. He was being just as careless as Allegra was, and deserved to be punished for it. Maybe not with a life sentence, but he definitely should have faced time for what he did. But of course, having the main character be rightfully punished for their wrongdoings would make them look unlikable, and we can't have that, even though he was already unlikable to begin with. Also, can I just say, Nick is such an unlikable cunt in this episode. He starts beefing with Allegra for such a dumb reason, then she gets mad and throws the journal at him, but then it gets destroyed. It's fine that Nick is upset at her for that, even though he kinda started the issue to begin with, but then he just carelessly throws the journal into the Transformer. He's just as careless. This is a big problem with the show. They portray Nick as being a flawless hero, even when he isn't. And when they do showcase his flaws, they downplay the consequences of said flaws, even when, as showcased in this episode, his flaws can have pretty major consequences. Instead of turning the judge into a typical bad guy of the episode, this episode could have been about Nick reflecting on his actions and realizing that, hey, maybe it's not a good idea to be a dumbass. Not only would that have been more interesting, as it would have developed the character further, but it also would have made more sense from a logical standpoint given the events of the episode. But no, having a good, flawed protagonist would have been too complex for the audience to understand. So instead, let's just make the court system so ridiculously nonsensical that Nick's flaws look minuscule by comparison, thus still making him quote-unquote likable. All of this combined with the amount of plot contrivances, especially near the end, turned what could have been an interesting episode into an absolute mess. So the next episode is titled Truth, Lies, and Videotape. So the episode starts with Nick flying the egg through the city, and it immediately goes upside down.
The key fragment's not far.
I took the ladder upwards. So why am I at the bottom?
I love this! You do know what you're doing, right?
So then Allegra notices the goofy-ass 3D models of them being projected to the whole city. Then they arrive at the Institute of Technology, a building that Jens apparently designed, and apparently did so in Blender. So then Nick realizes that the key fragment that they need is on the ceiling. So then it cuts to them in what appears to be a warehouse room. So then the red dudes from the court episode come in and start looking for them. So after they avoid them, they resume their search for the key fragment.
Many people think Gorm is generous and kind. They remember that after the infopathogen virus cut this realm off, he helped many people survive.
But he's the one who created the virus.
They don't know that. They've been told your father did that.
That way.
Reflection knob.
Are you okay?
One of the many security features I implement.
Thanks for warning me.
So then after Jens brags about almost killing Allegra, an alarm goes off. So then we meet the head of the Institute of Technology and, oh dear god, her costume design is awful.
So you're in charge of this whole institute, huh?
Who you? What the fuck?
Okay, so you remember that scene in episode 2 where Jens explains that he used to be a plant before becoming a robot or something? Well, apparently this is what he used to look like before being turned into a robot. But okay, you know, ignoring the stupid backstory, this costume design is just terrible. I mean, for God's sakes, they literally just glued a bunch of leaves to her face. If anything, watching this just makes me feel uncomfortable knowing how painful this must be for the actress, having all of that, you know, be glued to her literal face. So Nick and Allegra start lying to her about why they're at the Institute. Meanwhile, Jens appears to be tweaking for some reason. Bro just can't handle how hot she is. Okay, who am I kidding? She's literally covered in fucking leaves.
This isn't about me. This is about what you were doing in an off-limits area of the Institute.
Off-limits?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm Nick. Rick. I'm Rick. This is my best friend, Mary Kate. But her friends call her Ashley. We're science students. And we built this wonderful robot, and
we were testing out its motor control unit. That's how we got lost. Yeah.
Why don't you see if anything more dangerous got in while you were busy arresting these two children and the robot?
You know, a show about two kids running around the galaxy trying to find pieces to build their robot honestly sounds more interesting than this show. I'd rather be watching that show right now. Plus, it would be more fitting for a Lego show. Well, at least thematically. But instead, what we have here is just Star Wars on a Power Rangers budget with the editing of a Bollywood movie. So then they're let go after she buys their dumb story, and then they find the key fragment. But then Yen starts walking away for some reason, and she then introduces herself to Nick.
I'm Rita Chasana Prapua, Chief Scientist in Residence of the Institute.
Okay, but seriously, how the hell did LEGO expect to sell toys of a character named Richa Chasana Krakua? Just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Honestly, it just sounds like 3 different Bionicle names combined into one. So after she and Nick start making awkward small talk, Yen starts walking away, again, for some reason. So then Nick and Allegra start chasing after him. Then it cuts to Euripides and Nepal playing some board game about DNA strands? Honestly, I wish they had more scenes like this, because prior to this scene, I didn't even know they were friends. It makes them seem more like actual characters, you know, with scenes like this. But forget that. We need to have time for more epic glinching scenes, am I right? So somehow Yen's managed to walk all the way back to the egg without Nick and Allegra catching up to him, despite how slow he was walking. So then, of course, it's revealed that Rita Banana Takua has actually been in cahoots with Gorm the whole time. I never would have guessed. So then it's shown that Euripides and Nepal are disguised. Oh my god, just look at how adorable Nepal looks. Honestly, Nepal is the only character in this show I actually like. He's not annoying like Nick, he doesn't talk like a robot like Allegra, and he's not sexist like Yen's. He's the only good character in this entire show. So then Euripides makes Nick fly up back to where the fragment was, and then it cuts to Yen's and Allegra in the egg. So then Yen's explains that the reason he was having a robot orgasm when he saw her earlier was because they used to be in a relationship before Gorm started messing shit up on their planet.
Don't you glare at me like that.
I can't make expressions.
But I know you're glaring.
I couldn't face her.
That lady? Because she insulted your motor control module?
Because it was her, Britta.
You knew her?
We were close, back in our realm of Wex.
Like, boyfriend-girlfriend close? No way.
When my body was destroyed on Arbo.
You never told her, did you?
Oh, how could I? Look what I've become. The man she loved was a living plant. Green, soft. This robot body. I never saw her again.
Aw, Jens, I'm so sorry.
Oh my god. I know I keep harping on this, but this girl cannot pretend to feel sad to save her life. If anything, it sounds like she's trying not to laugh as she delivers the line.
Aw, Jens, I'm so
So then Nick tries to goat Sacagawea Onua into giving him the key fragment. So then Nick accidentally glinches his arm into a hammer. So then she explains that Glinch energy is dangerous because Nick's dad used it, and he also kidnapped Brianna's son, who, spoiler alert, is Nick. So then Nick and the plant woman get into a debate about Gorm. So then it cuts back to Jens and Allegra in the egg. Allegra is trying to convince Jens to come clean to Chiquita Banana about his identity. So then it cuts back to Nick and the plant woman. Nick tries to leave, but then the plant woman deploys an effect so bad that it literally starts breaking the video itself. So then Jens and Allegra pull up, and Jens reveals to her who he truly is.
Please, you have to let him go.
Ha! The Faithful Archer 7 unit.
No, I'm more than that.
How do you turn this thing off?
Britta Chatsana Thrapua. My body was destroyed. I had to put my brain in this robot to survive.
What are you talking about, robot?
Go on, tell her.
When we first met, I was so tired from working at the lab that I had fallen asleep. But I woke up, and there was a smell of pussy! So I walked into the hallway, and there you were. And I said,
Holy fuck! I'm coming!
Yenzi Kelly Tranalu.
So then we cut back to Euripides in Nepal, and it's revealed that Nepal has been running back and forth this whole time. For what reason? I still have no damn clue. So then Gorm pulls up, and the plant lady traps Nick back in the video-breaking cage so Gorm doesn't become sus of them. So then, of course, Nick and Gorm begin arguing with each other, and Gorm outs himself as a liar right in front of the plant lady, which causes her to betray him. And of course, Jens records the whole thing, and right as Gorm attacks him, he manages to broadcast the whole incident to the entire city, because I guess this is how all story conflicts were resolved in the 2000s.
Haha, your plan has been foiled. Now let me explain how I actually think bad things are good. Wait. Is that thing still recording?
I made the virus. I made Drejovin helpless and alone.
My faith in the system has fundamentally shattered. And one more thing. Is that thing recording me right now? Yep. And it's been recording me the whole time? Uh-huh. And now something comical will occur before I am inexplicably and immediately arrested by the police? I mean, probably. Whoa, I'm slipping on a banana peel!
Well, I guess that episode wasn't as bad as the previous episodes. There aren't as many nonsensical plot points. The characters aren't as annoying as they typically are. This episode at least has a coherent plot, which kinda can't be said for the previous episodes. However, that being said, this episode is still just as painfully predictable as the previous episodes, so it's still kinda bad. But honestly, it's an improvement from the previous episodes. You know, aside from Chiquita Banana's costume design.
What the fuck?
So the episode begins with a big sweeping shot flying through the main city within Galidor. You know, Mainframe City. We get to see a Bogue enter the frame, one of Gorm's henchmen, or illusions or clones, it's not really specified. But we see it fly through the city just so it can do this. I'm going to point this out. So, according to Wikipedia, just because you're paranoid had an air date of April 27th, 2002. 5 months after the infamous September 11th attacks. Yeah, this is real, people. LEGO actually let this slide for some reason. LEGO genuinely saw this and said, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, this totally doesn't look like something else that happened recently. Nah, that's fine. Seriously, LEGO, I got 2 words for you, which is technically 3. What the fuck? Okay, so if you remember the last episode, you will remember that they made some incriminating evidence and plastered that shit everywhere. And it seems like in Gorm's infinite wisdom, he came up with the amazing idea to send out bogues to crash into monitors because, you know, turning them off would be too much effort, I guess. Anyway, so Nick, Allegra, and Euripides are just there observing all the bogue shenanigans, and Euripides suggests that they should head back to the egg, which, surprise, surprise, they do exactly that. Cut to them walking in the city. Allegra is incredibly proud of what she and the rest of the gang have done, but someone who isn't proud of their actions is none other than Nick himself. Yeah, believe it or not, Nick is completely anxious, afraid of facing the consequences of his actions. Which, speaking of, Gorm announces to everyone that our heroes are just a bunch of douchebags spreading misinformation, and he's going to punish them for daring to damage his reputation. Nick, shortly after watching that video, is, you may say, a little bit more tense than usual. But don't worry, the rest of the gang try to make him feel better. You know, calm him down.
Nick, chill. Gorm doesn't even know where we are.
What's wrong?
Nick had a panic attack.
Gorm, like, really knows how to mess with my head.
That's his greatest power. Only you can beat him at the game.
Unfortunately, the therapy session has to end due to the bogue invasion. Allegra instigates the fight by jumping 10 feet in the air to kick one, only for her to be unsuccessful. Jens breaks up the fight by burning one of them, causing it to explode and release goo everywhere.
This stuff isn't just getting solid, it's getting
disgusting.
Everyone heads back to the egg to get rid of the stench of bug goo, when all of a sudden, the egg shuts down, locking Euripides outside and leaving the rest trapped inside the egg. And to make matters worse, the bogues are coming back for round 2. Our Philosopher ain't in the mood to play some Helldivers, so he jumps in the trash to evade the little bastards. Meanwhile, Nick is climbing up to the cockpit and... hang on a second. So the show just established that the interior of the egg has multiple floors that are accessible via a lift that has ceased functioning due to the power outage. So with that information, is it really unreasonable of me to say how the hell did Nick got up there without the aid of a lift, or hell, even him using his Glinch energy? I mean, what's the deal with that? Anyway, Nick and Jens are figuring out how to build up the egg, so they come up with the bright idea of Jens just hooking himself to the egg to do his magic. But let's just say it goes as well as the time I tried to use a toaster as a bath bomb. Surprisingly enough, Jens is not dead, only heavily wounded. But don't worry, he'll brush it off later on. But it does play a pivotal role for Nick's character arc in the episode. Don't believe me? Watch this.
Just a short circuit. I'm fine. Really, I'm fine.
Sure you are.
So our boy heads to the reactor to talk to Allegra, which seems normal enough, but Nick is acting a bit like a dick, and then he just starts monologuing and explaining his crackhead theory to Allegra as to why Jens is acting so...
What's with your head?
Nothing. Why?
sporadic.
Anything?
Everything looks fine to me.
Then what are we doing here?
Jens said to check the circuit board?
Jens said. Doesn't know what he's talking about.
Nick, what is with you?
How do we know Gorm's not playing games with us?
I don't see him anywhere.
Yeah, well, you don't see a computer virus either when it's eating up your hard drive. Jens.
What?
It's a virus. Jens has been corrupted by Gorm.
Slow down, Nick.
No, don't you see? Back at the Institute of Technology. Maybe when he left him alone. It's gotta be Jens. He's under Gorm's control.
Okay, Wow. Nick has officially gone off the deep end. I mean, seriously? You're telling me that because Jens went to a certain place, that must mean he's now under the influence of Gorm? Somehow? Obviously, this theory is completely nonsensical, half-baked, and all-around pretty shit. But you see, that's kind of the point of it. And if you don't know what I mean by that, well, that's fine. I'll explain myself later at the end of the episode, but for now, Nick collapses onto the ground due to a power surge. As soon as he gains his footing, he notices that Allegra just vanished. Like one moment she's there, and the next, gone.
Allegra! Allegra!
Meanwhile, Euripides has noticed the egg is about to take off, so without any hesitation whatsoever, he lunges towards the vessel before it departs from this realm. Once inside the ship, he immediately gets harassed by Nepal. Left with no other option, he has to deal with the warrior's onslaught of questions.
What did you do? Who are you working for? I don't understand. Why are you angry? You were not the one hiding outside while creatures of Gorm hunted you. So why didn't they find you, huh? Because I was hiding. As usual, you are talking without thinking. As usual, you are blind to the enemy. Unless Gorm is not your enemy.
Something tells me there's a bit of a theme going on here. What with Nepal arguing that Euripides is an imposter, which perfectly overlaps with Nick believing that Jens is also an imposter. Yeah, I think there might be a theme going on. Yeah. Meanwhile, at the cockpit, it turns out Jens is the one who's controlling the egg. He's taking it to a different realm for nefarious purposes. I mean, what an absolute prick. If only there was someone who can stop all this wretched tomfoolery. Oh look, it's Nick Bluetooth climbing out of the gutter to confront Jens in a one-on-one conversation. Oh, what a hero! So in this scene, we learn that the egg is going to Gorm's fortress, a vile, twisted place, simply referred to as Kek. Kek. Really? That's the name they're going with? What kind of fucking name is Kek? My word! This show's naming convention sucks harder than a black hole performing fellatio on the pillars of creation. God, this is almost as bad as the time when Bionhole had a character named Chew My Balls. Anyway, back to the story. Before the egg can go to Kek, they have to travel through an entirely separate dimension called Chow Hai.
We're going to have to fly right into the Chow Hai.
I'm not interested in Chinese food right now, Jens.
But okay, sure, I don't even care anymore. Even though this realm has a stupid name, it is incredibly dangerous. According to Jens, this realm is so polluted, the oxygen has gained acidic properties, meaning as soon as this egg enters this realm, everyone will be dissolved and killed. And in an absolute shocking turn of events, like top 10 craziest plot twists of all time, Nick does not want to die. He grabs his binoculars and storms off to find Allegra, as opposed to stopping the egg from entering the acid realm, which would have given more time, but nah, it's fine. He got his priorities, you know? Anyway, Nick is searching in the reactor when suddenly he gets ambushed by none other than Nepal of all people, which leads to them just arguing at one another, which, shockingly enough, it's kind of amusing.
You can't get away from me!
Where are you?
I'm not trying to get away.
If you're not a Gorm illusion, then tell me something only you know about me. Come on.
You glitched your hand into a vegetable, you drool in your sleep, and you don't lift toilet seats.
I do too.
No, you don't.
Yes, I... Okay, smart guy.
Nick is fed up with Nepal's BS and decides to leave via this door. Nepal warns Nick that
That's the reactor!
But it's too late. Nick falls on top of Euripides, gets back up on his feet, and is now in the mood to confront Jens again?
Euripides, Jens has lost it. Right, I don't know what he's doing, but we've got to stop him.
Okay, but uh-oh, the lift has moved to the second floor, making it impossible to climb to Jens. And to make matters worse, the Bogues are coming for round 3. Not only that they have to stop the egg before entering into that one SpongeBob episode, they also have to do it while getting attacked by bogies. Which, let me just take a break for a moment. You know, let me just step back and point out how needlessly convoluted this shit is. I mean, look at how many things Nick goes through just to end up in this predicament. From the very beginning of this little segment, Nick had the golden opportunity to stop Jens, but he squanders it by looking for Allegra instead of stopping him. Then, later on, he gets harassed by Nepal, which leads to some dumb antics. After that, Nick thinks of, maybe I should stop Jens. So he opens a door that leads to a drop, which is totally a normal and natural addition to a spaceship and not some convoluted and contrived way for Nick to end up on the second floor. Which shortly after Nick gains his footing, the lift becomes inaccessible. And do you see what I'm getting at? In the span of 2 to 3 minutes, we went through multiple plot beats, blatant contrivances, and flip-flopping motivations. It's truly staggering how much garbage tier writing choices they managed to cram into the span of 3 minutes. It's almost impressive. I'm telling you, Galidor's writing is so monolithically bad that if the show was sent back thousands of years ago, the ancient Greeks would have worshipped it as one of their gods. It is that bad. Anyway, enough of that tangent. Let's get back to the story. The lift does not work anymore, so how is Nick gonna get up there? Well, easy. Euripides could just use his staff to lift Nick up to his desired location. But unfortunately, Euripides somehow lost his telekinetic staff, making this method non-viable. However, he does remember a different way of getting into the cockpit, via the trash compactor.
Well, there is another way.
Ooh, I was thinking of making this one joke, but I don't know, man. It's so bad that it would single-handedly fold my credibility as a content creator like a lawn chair. So maybe it's best for me not to make the joke. Nick falls smack dab right on top of unsold Galidor stock. And now if you can excuse me, I'm gonna go get myself my award. Thank you very much. Peace. After some digging, he discovers Allegra stuck in the garbage. He gets her out of that pile so he can tell her all the things that happened within the past 6 minutes.
He's been taken over by Gorm. He's locked off general quarters. And we're flying right into a big cloud full of acid that's gonna dissolve us, and then there's Bogues, and then Nepal's gone, and...
But aside from that, everything's fine, right?
Aside from that? Yeah.
She decides to join forces to stop Jens, which is all well and dandy until someone turns the trash compactor on.
We're gonna be compacted!
And then disposed of.
Come on!
Nick, not wanting to die, glinches his arms to try and push the wall, but when that doesn't work, he glinches his legs to get some extra strength, which seemed to do the trick, not only putting the wall back where it belongs, it also gives them ample time to escape. Later on, our heroes enter the cockpit, ready to stop Jens dead in his tracks.
Stay back. You're not pushing me back in there.
Jens, we're shutting you down.
What? Don't touch me! I'm armed to repel intruders.
This is for your own good.
Hey, wait a minute, were those the door sound effects from Doom? Yeah, those are Doom sound effects. So you're telling me that this show is not only using a shit ton of bad green screen and recycling old video game consoles, they're also using, well, the most overplayed sound effects you can possibly find. I mean, what the hell is this? A fucking Nostalgia Critic skit? Whatever. So our heroes successfully knock Jens out, putting him to one side while they try to figure out the next course of action. And shortly after a giant bogue rears his ugly head, Euripides enters the scene to inform that Nepal is missing and there's now pollution seeping inside the egg.
And you should know that the door is open, and we are filling with smoke. Where is Nepal?
No time!
The whole gang are at the opening, watching the bogues getting crystallized as a result of them being exposed to Shanghai. I guess they really hate that particular episode of SpongeBob, so much so that they would just rather off themselves. But that's besides the point, because this scene serves as a turning point in the story. Watch.
Nick, we're crystallizing too!
No, it's that bogue slime that splattered all over us. The smoke. It's like anti-bogue spray.
You wiped the slime off you before you came in, didn't you?
Personal hygiene is very important to me.
Once you got the slime off, the egg liked you.
We gotta get this stuff off before it's dissolved.
Jens!
After the gang finish their bogue watching, it transitions to Jens cleaning off Nick. Speaking of Mr. Bluetooth, you remember that theory that he was spouting off earlier, right? Well, it turns out Nick was wrong all along. All those disappearances and Jens's tics weren't signs of him being mind controlled by Gorm. It was actually the egg doing all of it, and Jens's tics were completely unrelated to that.
So let me get this straight. So the egg smelled the bogue juice on us, so it figured we were the enemy. So then it flew to the Chow Hai to disinfect itself? Isn't that kind of...
Paranoid?
Yeah.
Wow, what an amazing twist of events. Someone should give these guys like an Oscar or something, or like one of those chocolate medals. 10 out of 10 storytelling. Woo! For real though, if Jens was aware that the egg's security measures can only detect intruders by blood or DNA, how come he didn't warn the gang about this grave oversight? Is that why he had those tics? So he can be unable to interact with his compatriots? If that's the case, where did he get that tic from? Was it really a byproduct of Jens channeling his inner pyromaniac and setting everything he sees ablaze? Will we ever get an answer to any of those questions? Well, no. The episode is now over. And also, I just want to jump to the conclusion right about now. just because you're paranoid is pretty self-explanatory. Honestly, what can I even say about this episode? It's yet another mediocre Galidor episode with all the hallmarks and qualities that you come to expect. But now, with a stupid plot twist added onto it, as its main gimmick. I mean, there are some things I do like about the episode. There are a couple character interactions that are okay, and that Chinese line, 10 out of 10, best line of all time, deserves an Oscar, better than Shakespeare and Citizen Kane combined. But overall, it's just yet another mediocre Galidor episode. Enough said, let's just move on to the next episode.
So the next episode is called Frozen Feud. It starts with Nick and the gang traveling through space as they usually do. And already the video is breaking because, good God, the compression is awful. Deadass looks like it was filmed on the Keck Powerizer toy itself. So then it's revealed that they are traveling to Nepal's home planet. So then Allegra points out that Nick landed the ship in the absolute worst spot possible. But because Nick is a moron, he refuses to let Allegra correct his dumbass decision to land there. So then after the ship crashes, Nick goes to check on everybody else. So once they get out of the ship, Nepal goes to find out what happened to the planet since he left it. So Allegra starts complaining about the cold weather, and then Euripides gets a thermic coil, a device that can supposedly heat people up, only to find that it is broken. So then Euripides reveals that they need a specific plant to power the hot pocket he's beaming into her head.
Wow. What is it?
A telekinetic heat pocket.
How long will it last?
Not long enough. We need Driplax.
Driplax?
It's an indigenous blubber plant.
Plant? In the frozen section?
Driplax thrives in the cold.
So what does it look like?
Big, fat, and ugly.
You just described my Uncle Bob. Or that. Driplax?
Wait, that's not...
So then it cuts back to Nick looking for the key fragment, and he finds it, but then immediately afterwards, this dude rises from the snow. And I'm sorry, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm looking too much into this, but is that freaking BDSM gear on his face? Did the costume designer seriously just put that on his face? Did they just go home and grab that because they had no other ideas? Was the budget for the costume design really this low by this point? So then Jens comes out to investigate the situation.
Key fragment? Iceman.
Is he alive?
He's something. Can you hear me? Hello? I'm Nick. This is Jens. What's your name?
I'm Grobert.
This character is getting more and more cursed every second. So then Groper explains that the planet must have been destroyed by the natives of the planet, i.e. Nepal. So then they talk to Nepal, and then the dude just disappears, I guess. But then he reappears behind Nepal anyways, and does his little battle cry, and the two start having a fight.
Johnny Tron! You're not welcome here. You dare say that to me? I'm a Siktari warrior.
Come on, guys, chill out.
I guess he really was into BDSM. To be fair, this is probably the most entertaining fight scene so far, even though we're now 11 episodes in, and this is the only mildly entertaining fight scene we've gotten. So then Groper grabs Nepal's weapon, but luckily before he can get back into the ship to continue their rough sex, Nick closes the door. Nepal wants him to open the door so he can get his weapon back, but I think we all know the real reason he wants to open the door. Jens tells Nick they can't escape the situation because the egg can't fly again. So then Nick puts the map into its place, and this amazing CGI animation starts playing of the egg slowly waddling away. So then it cuts back to Euripides and Allegra. Euripides points out that there's a snake slithering around Allegra's leg. So then it cuts back to Nick and the gang inside the egg. Then it cuts immediately back to Allegra and Euripides. And can you guess what she's doing to keep herself warm? No, seriously. Guess what she's doing to stay warm? Write your guess in the comments. You have 10 seconds. Time's up. If you guessed doing karate, then you'd be correct, because this show is painfully predictable. So then Euripides sees where the snake went, which gives Allegra an idea to escape, which involves picking up a rock. So then it cuts to Nepal and Nick looking for Allegra and Euripides, but then a stalactite falls from the ceiling and almost hits them. But then a ton of rocks begin falling onto them, which causes them to slide through a hole in the wall and land face first into the snow. So then a geyser shoots out and flings Nick back.
What's with the geysers?
Cryo-collapsers. Just like the L-10s, using primitive, cowardly weapons.
What is that?
Okay, Nick, how have you never seen a snake before? So then Groper charges back in, but before they can get back to shoving objects up their asses, Nick points out that the crystal is about to explode. So apparently the geysers are not natural, and instead are artificially made weapons? Okay.
I hear voices. I see Nick and Nepal. Nick! Nepal!
Wait, so they're standing there in the same positions as they were before it cut to Allegra screaming into the hole. So they were just sitting there making noises at each other?
I'll take his ice shard fire. When he's distracted, grab the Luca. I'll take care of him.
Okay, bro, why are you stating your plan out loud when he's standing right there in front of you?
Ready? Set!
No! No one's attacking anyone! We got this to deal with!
That's not a warrior attitude. Defeating the enemy comes first.
It's time to change attitudes.
Wow, for once Nick makes an intelligent decision. Incredible. So then Nick glinches his hand into the heating coil from earlier, and for some reason it starts making lightsaber noises. So then it cuts back to Allegra and Euripides doing karate to stay warm, because that is the only way of staying warm apparently. And of course, the editor starts having a stroke again, because I guess it wouldn't be a Galidor episode if it didn't have a scene with 5 billion cuts per second and pointless slow-mo shots. So then Euripides starts using his staff to make the rocks float, and Allegra starts kicking them into the wall. Even though it would just be easier and quicker to just throw them at the wall, but because Allegra's defining character trait is karate, this is the only way she can do this. So then it cuts back to Nepal and Groper trying to fuck each other, while Nick keeps cock-blocking them with the heating coil.
This whole area is one big constipated geyser. It needs to pass some gas. So to speak. Or it's gonna blow, and it's gonna blow big.
So after explaining that the geyser needs to fart, Allegra runs in and Nick explains what he already explained to Nepal and Groper. And that's pretty much where the episode ends. To be honest, this episode isn't very noteworthy. The conflict between Groper and Nepal is slightly more interesting than the conflicts in the previous episode solely because of how goofy it is. Allegra's never-ending obsession with karate is still just as annoying as it always has been. There are still plot points that don't really make much sense, and the CGI is still trash as always. So overall, this episode is just kinda mid, I guess. It's not painfully stupid like some of the previous episodes, but it's still not good enough to be interesting. So the next episode is titled, It's Deja Vu All Over Again. It starts with the egg flying through Nepal's home planet, looking for yet another key fragment. So after a minute of the characters talking, the egg begins landing and we see Kopaka watching them. It's then revealed that he has a snowmobile.
For all you dumb motherfuckers that can't spell right when you're insulting me, consult the fucking dictionary, bitch! You know how many times I've been told to lose some weight? Like W-A-I-T? I can't fucking lose time, motherfuckers! And as far as the fucking yelling goes, people keep telling me to get a better camera. My camera has nothing to do with the fucking audio! Are you fucking retarded? There's a little fucking webcam that records my fat face, and there's a little microphone that records my big fat fucking voice. The microphone is the problem, not the fucking camera, retards. So for all you fucking haters, I'ma give you a piece of my ass today. And it's so big, it just might fucking choke you to death.
So after the intro, we see Allegra preparing to leave the egg to look for the fragment. So after another minute of boring dialogue, Euripides and Nepal swap legs with each other by glinching. So then Nick and Allegra start walking to the fragments during the snowstorm. While Allegra is talking to Nick, she jumps on something that makes a loud noise.
What is that thing?
I think I saw something like that in my dad's journal. Let me see it.
What?
My dad's journal. You forgot it.
No, you dragged me out the door before we were ready to leave.
It's my fault you forgot the journal.
Got my tracking device, gloves, food, water, and dry socks. What do you have?
Fine. Forget about the journal.
Nick, slow down. You don't know what that thing is. You're the fastest. Go back and get the journal.
Journal, right.
Nick! It could be a trap or a trick or something.
So then Nick presses a random button and accidentally activates his dad's gaming PC. Allegra tries to get inside so she can see Nick play Among Us with RTX enabled. So Allegra tries to tell Nick to turn it off, but then Kopaka comes riding in on his snowmobile. Allegra, being extremely intelligent, decides to stand still and do a stupid karate pose instead of getting out of the way as if her tiny noodle arms were gonna be able to stop the snowmobile. So then the gaming PC starts installing Among Us. Or is it? Because then, the beginning of the episode starts playing again, and it's revealed that Nick's dad's gaming PC was actually a time machine all along. Because of course it is. And now, for the rest of the episode, Nick is now stuck in a time loop. Because I guess the writers didn't have any ideas for this episode. So because of that, this entire episode is just filler. And because of that, I'm not willing to cover this episode any longer. It goes exactly how you think it goes, and frankly, I'm not going to waste any more time and effort to talk about an episode that the writers clearly put none into. All you need to know is that there's a brief part near the end where they start looping the same clips over and over back to back. It was at this point that MacDale pointed out to me that it looked like a YTP from 2007, and frankly I'd have to agree.
Bitch. Bitch. Shut the fuck up. My money. Bitch.
Fuck you!
Shut the fuck up, bitch.
And at the end of the episode, we see that Nick is now miraculously not in the time loop anymore, and him and the rest of the gang agree to go to Keck to save Allegra, which is what they should have done from the beginning. If anything, this wouldn't have happened if Allegra just moved out of the way instead of standing there like a deer in headlights that thinks it's good at karate. If Nepal had time to fail to use his ice beam, then she had time to get out of the way.
I just wish that someone would try and catch me lacking, because I have a black belt in kicking ass. Now who wants to try?
This whole dumb episode could have been avoided if Allegra wasn't an absolute moron. God, this episode just sucks. It's a lazy filler episode that was made because the writers didn't have any ideas for an actual episode, and it's just as dumb and nonsensical as every other episode of this show. Absolute lazy garbage. On with the next episode. So the next episode is called A Room with No View. So it starts with the gang flying through the 4chan planet.
Spatial distortion, created when Gorm detonated his implosion device.
The one that wiped out your armies and made you...
I hate implosion devices almost as much as I hate...
Eventually, they run into a giant CGI condom. It then cuts to Gorm and Tager discussing their plans. So then, the egg is sucked into the giant CGI condom as well. So after the intro, we see that Kopaka is taking Allegra to her jail cell, or to be dropped into a pit of CGI wasps. So then, the wasps begin flying around her head and Kopaka receives a transmission from Tager.
So she's in there.
Yes, according to her tracking device.
And that's where we're going.
Did I tell you I hate Keck?
Many times. And as the great Vinnic philosopher Uliana said,
Put a sock in it.
I'm sorry. He gets on my nerves sometimes.
I think we all have a lot on our nerves right now. You think the egg's gonna be safe here?
I'll seal it and turn on the invisibility shield, but nothing's ever really safe on Keck.
I hate...
We know!
I'm cringe, and that's based. I'll never be based, and that's not cringe. There's no one I'd rather do than me.
So after Nepal reminds the audience that he's not based or red-pilled for the 500th time, it cuts to Allegra in her bedroom all of a sudden. You know, for a LEGO TV show, the lack of LEGO product placement is kinda shocking. You think that's what they would have done considering they own the show, but surprisingly that's not the case. Although, it's kinda hard to tell when you have a total of 5 pixels to work with. So then it cuts to the gang being attacked by wasps. Nick glinches his hand into whatever the hell that is, and Nepal starts shooting ice beams at the wasps. So then, a giant fart cloud, by the looks of it, begins chasing them, and they run inside into the building where Allegra is being held. So then Allegra's mom gives her some soup. After that, Nick runs down the hallway and realizes that the rest of the gang have stopped following him for some reason.
Jens! Nepal! Euripides!
Come on, you. Back into bed. Go on. There. Did you have another bad dream?
Wait, maybe I'm missing something, but isn't the whole thing about Allegra seeing her mom supposed to be in her head? So if that's the case, how the hell is Nick able to see her mom? So then Gorm and Kopaka go inside the egg and Gorm destroys the map by putting his hands on it aggressively, kind of? Okay. So then Allegra goes to drink her soup, but because this show is insanely predictable, it appears that there's something in the soup. And also, this scene doesn't really make much sense. This is because Tager's plan, or at least what I think his plan is to convince Allegra that she's at home so she, I guess, ends up dumping info about Nick. But in order for that to work, they have to make everything seem normal so she doesn't start questioning her reality and realizing that she's not at home. So if that is the plan, why would you put something scary in the soup? That's only gonna make her suspect that something's off and is only gonna have the opposite effect of what they want. Tager, what exactly is your goal here? But I guess it still worked anyway, so whatever. I mean, who knows? Maybe Tager was just doing a little bit of trolling. So then Nick goes to tell Allegra the truth of the situation.
So get this. I had this dream. You and I found some kind of machine. We called it the egg because it kind of looked like an egg. Your father built it. And we went on some crazy trip to save some place called Galidor.
Allegra? We're still on that trip.
Don't goof on me, Nick. I've been sick.
Sick? We're in the outer dimension.
Maybe you are.
This isn't your real room. We're on Keck. In Gorm's fortress.
Mom!
That's not your real mom. It's all an illusion.
Gorm?
He's breaking through to her, which means she's useless to us.
Okay, but why would you do this in an open room that anyone could walk into? Do you not have a lockable room anywhere in this facility? So then Jens and the gang walk into the room with the camera feed of what's happening in the illusion, and then Tager pulls up. Then it cuts back to the illusion, and Tager, disguised as Allegra's mom, comes in to deal with Nick.
Nick, are you upsetting her again?
Mom?
You know she's been sick. What are you doing out of bed?
Whatever you're selling, I'm... Where? Not buying.
All right. What is it this time, Nicholas? A story about a Gorm or a Bogue, or how about those key fragments? Let's talk about that.
Mom?
Look at what's real, Allegra.
I can't.
Yes, you can. This is not your room. That is not your mom. Gorm just made some toady of his look like your mom.
I am too Allegra's mom! Whoa!
I think I'm getting it.
Nick and Allegra try to escape, but they are stopped by Gorm. And all of a sudden, they're now all behind bars, which Allegra should have been behind in the first place, because then Nick wouldn't have been able to walk into the room Allegra was so quickly. But of course, she wasn't, because that would have made too much sense. The only thing that is really changing from episode to episode is how many nonsensical plot points there are. I'm starting to notice that all I've been able to say for these last few episodes is how little many of the plot points make sense. And when I say that they don't make sense, I'm not talking about realism. I'm talking about the logic of the characters and the situations they get into. Throughout this whole show, we've seen so many nonsensical plot points, ranging from somewhat dumb but not very important in the grand scheme of things, like Tager trolling Allegra with the soup, to major plot points that completely break the plot of the episode, like how Tager didn't lock the room Allegra was in, allowing anyone to come into her room. I'm starting to realize that this entire show's plot is only being moved forward by these nonsensical plot points and contrivances. It feels like the writers of these episodes are just writing whatever comes to their head first, and then moving on to the next plot point with no second thought, until they realize they've written themselves into a corner, in which case they then have to do some insane mental gymnastics to justify the characters being able to move on from the events of the episode completely unscathed, as if nothing happened, regardless of whether or not it makes sense. Because of this, it's hard to really get invested into the show and care about what happens when you know that no matter what, the characters will make it out unscathed, even if it doesn't make any logical sense for that to happen. It's hard to care when you know the writers clearly don't care and just want their paycheck. This episode is just another example of how lazily this entire show is written. Just terrible. So the next episode is titled Go for the Bronze. The episode starts with an intro appearing to show that this is the intro to some sort of competition show. The way the competition works, according to the announcer, is that whoever grabs the ring first wins a trip to quote-unquote paradise. Then it cuts to Nick and Allegra looking for yet another key fragment. After showing us some footage of the currently ongoing competition, it then cuts back to Nick, who has found the key fragment in an isolated area. It's then revealed that the key fragment is on the medal of the contestant who just won. How did these key fragments even end up in these weird-ass places to begin with? Then again, why has it taken me till now to question this?
We just have to bash everything down until we find the fragment. We just have to bash everything down till we find the fragment. It's the easiest, most
Alright already! The point is, we have to get the key fragment, not argue about how to get it.
Okay, but if you don't determine a method of retrieving the fragment, how on earth do you plan to get it? So then Nick asks Jens to tell everyone his idea, and his idea is to turn the Keck Powerizer into a really strong magnet that he can then use to pull it towards him. Cool idea, I guess, but the thing is, we already saw the person who won go into the light, so wouldn't they have to follow him to get the fragment? Or is there just a duplicate of the fragment on every medal? Well, knowing this show, it's probably the latter. You know, come to think of it, are the key fragments just random pieces of metal on random planets? Cause if the latter is what ends up happening, then they might as well be. Anyways, Allegra then reveals that she has a pamphlet on the competition and reads it. Okay, so I guess Nick's plan is to win the competition and use it as a free ticket to Galidor? But in order to access Galidor, they need all the key fragments, right? Isn't that the whole point of the show? So if that's the case, then why is Nick trying to get an early trip to Galidor to get the fragment? That would do nothing except waste time unless the remaining key key fragments are all in the arena, but considering there's 7 episodes left, I highly doubt that's the case. So if they need the key fragments to get to Galidor, then Nick's plan makes literally no sense. This show is so riddled with plot holes that it would probably trigger people with trypophobia. So then it cuts to Euripides, Nick, and Allegra in the room where the contestant won the competition. Okay, I know it has only been like 5 seconds since I last pointed out a plot hole, but how the hell are they in this room? Does this place just have no security?
The light comes from up there.
I don't see anything.
I got an idea. You send my communicator up there, we talk on this end and see where our voices end up.
Excellent idea.
I think he smashed through the wrong wall.
No key fragments up there!
Let's get out of here.
Okay, so I guess now all of a sudden the alarms go off, even though they should have already gone off long before they reached this point, and apparently all they needed to do to avoid security was to run through a small maze and into a corner. At this point, do I even need to say that this makes no sense? So then in this corner, they come across the statues of the warriors that competed in this show.
Sorry, kid, you're too young.
I am not. I'm Nepol, greatest warrior.
Shut the fuck up.
So I guess they decide if you're old enough based on height. I mean, considering that their security is near non-existent, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that the approval process for getting on this show also makes no sense. So anyway, Nick applies instead and is about to compete. Allegra points out that Nick doesn't know jack squat about gymnastics, but Nick claims that he has a perfect plan. I wonder what his perfect plan is. It's definitely gonna be a perfect plan, like he claims. So then we see Nick's plan in action, as he glinches Jens's arm onto himself to grab the ring. But uh-oh, turns out he didn't have the perfect plan, because one of the rules in the pamphlet states, quote-unquote, no glinching.
This is like George Orwell's book, 1984.
And get ready for another shocking plot twist. It's revealed in the next scene that the competition was actually being ran by Gorm the whole time. Because apparently, everything that opposes Nick is actually part of Gorm's evil plan. Even when said thing is only opposing Nick because of his idiotic actions. So then it cuts back to Nick and the gang in the egg, and the Keck Powerizer is stuck to Jens for some reason. Then Allegra reveals that she's going to compete in the competition.
And I'm gonna win. Through intimidation. Violet? I look like the warrior from Fairyland.
Okay, one thing I want to point out about this scene is that the YouTube automatic caption seems to think that she says that she, quote-unquote, looks like the lawyer from Fairyland. Ah yes, she does indeed look like Saul Goodman. So then Nick tries to use the communicator as part of his plan earlier. He then hears the communicator he sent in a room behind a blue door. And because the security in this place is complete dog shit, he's able to easily open the door with no problems. It's then revealed this is the same room the host was in earlier. He then opens up the machine that the host was talking about earlier to see that it turns the winners into statues, and that's where the statues from earlier came from, because that definitely makes sense. Nick then runs back to save Allegra, but it seems he's too late as the competition has already begun. Honestly, this just reminds me of all those laser segments in Undertale, and that one stupid disco thing during the Metaton fight that always deleted most of my health. Anyways, so Allegra wins the competition right as Nick comes in to save her. She throws the medal at Nick, but regardless, she is still sucked up into the portal to the statue machine, presumably. Nick then hears what sounds like someone who's extremely constipated, and it's revealed that said constipated person is Zofox.
They're next behind that door. It's locked. Come on, we gotta open the door.
I'm on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, that was easy.
Where'd you come from?
I followed the light from the stage.
Just like I did.
Michael! Don't leave me here! Michael! Michael!
Join us!
So then the host reveals that Allegra is in the machine and is about to be turned into a statue, but then Nick kicks it, distracting the host and giving Allegra time to get out of it. Then Jens and Nepal use their powers to make the doors stay in place for longer.
Fuse shut! That'll hold him for a while.
For a while? Or I could call him up, tell him everything's fine. Either way, you lose.
Okay. Guess you win. So what are you gonna do? Make me into a statue?
Makes it a lot easier to ship you to Gorm. Please.
Nick, no.
What exactly am I getting into?
A magnetic plating bed.
Ah. You hear that, Jens? A magnetic plating bed. You know a little something about magnetics, huh?
It won't hurt you. Gorm wants you alive. He'll just reverse the magnetic plating and de-bronze you when you get to Keck.
I'm going to Keck? What are you gonna do? Throw me in a crate?
I certainly have other ways of transporting you.
Oh yeah, of course you do.
So, shall we?
You know, if Zofox finds out you've been lying to him about paradise, I mean, if that Zofox got in here, and there was a statue being brought back to life.
Won't happen. Now please, can we get on with this?
Okay. I think we're all ready. Allegra, you want to kick off the show? Okay. Let's do it! Ready?
Statue in place. Transport location set.
Magnetism reversed.
Let's see how Zofox feels about the truth.
Wait, you don't want them.
What the hell is that?
I mean, I have to ask, what on earth do they have to gain from doing that? You'd think since this is a competition, what they'd be gaining is money from people paying to watch the show, or from TV ratings. So then, why turn the contestants into statues? What do they gain from doing that? It's so nonsensical and pointless, and clearly just done for the sake of driving home the point that Gorm is the big bad of the show, as if that wasn't already obvious enough. And also, considering how garbage the security in that place is, considering that some random dude was able to open the door to the room where the statues were, wouldn't somebody have found out about this long before Nick and Allegra showed up? And Do I even need to point out how stupid that ending was? I hope I don't, because at this point I feel like I'm just saying the same stuff over and over again, because this show is just so predictable and keeps making the same mistakes. On to the next episode. So the next episode is titled The Great Glinch Switch. It starts with Nick assembling the key to Galidor. While he's assembling the key, we see a woman watching him from the corner. Nick puts what he thinks is the last fragment into it until he realizes that there's still one piece of the key missing. Then the lady starts standing on top of the egg and turns into Barney's cum. Then she slithers over to where Nick and the gang are and turns back into a human, even though she could have just walked over there without turning into Barney's semen. But regardless, so then this woman reveals to Nick that she's been watching their adventures ever since the show started. She then reveals that the last key fragment is apparently on Earth and that she has plans to get it.
Can't believe you've gotten this far.
Who are you?
Do you know how not hard it was to sneak up on you?
I saw you coming.
Today. I've been shadowing you since day one.
Day one.
Yeah. Through the jungles and wastelands of Arbo, the frozen plateaus of Siktar, and those tunnels and tunnels and tunnels of Drijal Vin. You never saw me coming, till I wanted you to. Today.
Who are you?
Someone who's been trying to get to Galidor a lot harder than you.
I don't think so.
Please, check your map. The last key frag's not in the outer dimension. There's only one place it can be.
Where do you think you're going?
I'm gonna take this egg and get to the last key fragment.
And where's that?
Earth. If you think you can stop me, you're wrong.
I mean, if your body is in the form of a purple dinosaur's cum, then I guess no one is gonna want to come in contact with you. So I guess that's one way of being unstoppable. So back in the egg, Nick and Jens question her on her identity. Jens then scans her to verify that she's from Galidor.
Her facial structure does seem to be Galidorian.
So what are you doing here?
I was on Drijal Vin when Gorm began his takeover, and I've been trying to get home ever since. Now, give me the map and let's get going.
Nothing personal, but how do we know this isn't one big scam? And how do we know you're not working for Gorm?
If I was working for Gorm, you wouldn't know what hit you. Trust me, I don't like the guy any more than you do. And between him and me, it is personal. Where is it?
Look, Lind, or whatever your name is, I'm not just gonna hand over the map.
Because you don't have it.
It was right here with the key. It's right. Where did it go?
She took it.
Get real, Nepal.
You, a girl, want to join the robotics club? Get real.
So then Euripides pulls up with the key and the map and refuses to give the key and the map to Lind. So then it's revealed that Tager is mind controlling Euripides or something, and he makes Euripides give him the key and the map. Then all of a sudden, an earthquake, or whatever they call earthquakes in the outer dimension, starts happening. Then a giant condom appears and sucks the egg into it. Then Lind turns into Barney jizz and gets sucked into the condom as well. So then Gorm appears and delivers a generic big bad villain speech to the gang. So then in the middle of this speech, Nick offers to sacrifice himself to Gorm.
You still don't have that one thing that'll give you ultimate power. My Glinch energy.
Oh, I'll eventually have that.
Yeah. Well, I'm offering it to you right now. You give back the egg, and you can have me.
You know, considering the word Glinch is listed as a slang term for the clitoris, this scene becomes much funnier in that context.
You still don't have that one thing that'll give you ultimate power. My Glinch energy.
What the fuck? No!
So then it cuts to him talking to Queen Rihanna in what appears to be a dream sequence.
I think this is the craziest thing you've ever done.
If Gorm gets your Glinch energy, he'll be unstoppable.
He'll get me. Who says he'll get my Glinch?
You can't get rid of your Glinch.
Says who?
Can he?
No one except his father really understood his ability to Glinch.
It might be someone else. It's the only way. I've got to get rid of my Glinch energy.
I've got my cock.
So then it cuts to Tager and Gorm discussing their plans. Then it cuts to Jens preparing a machine that can apparently transfer Glinch energy from one person to another. It's also here that we learn of Nick's plan, which is to transfer the Glinch energy to Allegra so that Gorm can't take it from him. Meanwhile, within only 2 hours, Allegra will go to Earth and find the final key fragment. A sensible plan until you realize that 2 hours on one planet is going to be a lot longer on another planet. Nick tells her the time limit right before Gorm comes to take him. Don't you think you should have told her that earlier? So then Tager returns the egg to Nepal and Euripides with the key and map inside. Or does he? So now the gang are stranded without any transportation and without Nick. So Allegra starts running away for some reason.
I will use your Glinch energy to remake the entire outer dimension in my image.
Right! That was your idea last time. Didn't work out so well for you, did it?
I've improved my illusion machine. I no longer need your willing participation. You'll just be a Glinch energy battery for me. Once I plug you into my morphic nexus, I will rip open a new portal to Galidor. Nothing will stop me. Don't worry. You won't feel a thing. Except, possibly, hideous pain.
Gorm? You do realize that they've probably realized by now that this was a trap. You should probably take him to Keck or wherever the hell you're planning on taking him. So then Allegra pulls up, and then, for the first time in the whole show, she glinches. And simultaneously destroys almost everything around her. So then Gorm realizes their plan as a result of Allegra glinching, and forces Allegra to transfer her Glinch energy to Gorm. But then, through the dumbest of plot contrivances, Nick gets electrically shocked by the machine, which somehow transfers the Glinch energy to him. He then uses this Glinch energy to end the episode in by far the dumbest ending of any episode of this show. Well, second only to him glinching the journal back into existence in the courtroom episode.
I always wanted to blow you.
What the fuck?
You will need more than that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but this just sucks. You see, during this time, LEGO was too afraid to get violent in their early attempts at storytelling. This is something that can be seen in the early Bionicle movies that came out around the same time. In those movies, most of the combat is just the Toa shooting goofy-looking energy beams at each other. They never really used their weapons. Unfortunately, because of this, most of the fight scenes in the early Bionicle movies kind of suck and are incredibly boring. And Of course, this same problem is carried over to Galidor, and this scene is one of the worst examples of that problem. I'm sorry, but him just using the wings as a goddamn blow dryer is just so stupid. And the cheesy one-liner he says prior doesn't make it look any less stupid. And if that wasn't already dumb enough, after he finishes Gorm, the CGI condom from earlier just appears and spits out the egg with all the items they need inside of it, because the writers of this show don't know how to end these episodes. Honestly, man, what can I even say at this point? I've already ranted over and over again about how the endings of these episodes always suck, and this episode is certainly no different. Honestly, this episode was kinda interesting to watch. This is likely due to the fact that there were actual stakes to the episode, even if I knew deep down that the writers were just gonna come up with some stupid cop-out where the main characters would win regardless. And surprisingly, there were very few plot holes throughout the episode, which for this show is pretty rare. But of course, no matter what happens in this show, one thing will never change. And that one thing is that the writers will never get the ending right. Just disappointing, man. So the next episode is titled Area 51. It starts with Euripides running from the FBI within Area 51. It then cuts to Euripides waking up after being knocked out, realizing that him being taken by the Area 51 people wasn't a dream. After the intro, we see that Nick and the boys have snuck into Area 51, so then Nepal tries to charge ahead to save Euripides, even though he doesn't have his weapon with him. So how he expects to fight them off is beyond me. But then they're spotted by a security guard and the guards start charging after them. So then they go to a nearby motel where Yen starts building a device to help them with their mission. This device immediately gives them a map of the entire facility, somehow. Then it cuts back to Euripides being experimented on by the scientist dude.
You must let me go. I am on a mission to
That's just fine. Keep exercising your brain. We almost have what we need.
What you need?
How does this make you feel?
Itchy.
And this?
Sleepy.
And how about this?
It tickles. Please stop. If you don't release me, Gorm will enslave the entire outer dimension. We'll all be doomed.
Why do all these creatures we find think that we're doomed?
You know, you'd think eventually, with how many cases of the aliens saying that they're doomed, you'd think they'd start taking what they're saying seriously. But whatever, I guess they just think that they're being trolled or something. So then it cuts back to Nick and Nepal. Nick tells Nepal to create a diversion so he can get into the building. So then Nick breaks into the lab and sees Euripides and starts walking to where he is, but then he's yanked through a window by someone.
Lind? What are you doing here?
Trying to save your friend.
What do you think I'm doing here?
Setting off every subsonic alarm in the place.
What's with the
wetsuit so the heat sensors don't pick me up, microwave jammers to block the video feeds, anti-gravity booty so I don't
So then Nick jumps onto the floor and it sets off an alarm, even though he was just standing there a few seconds ago. Also, how does someone standing somewhere set off an alarm exactly? Like, for all you know, it could be one of the scientists walking through the hallway, so having an alarm system like that doesn't really make much sense to begin with. So then Nick and Lynn start running from the guards, and I just realized this place looks nothing like Area 51. I mean, this looks like a goddamn airport, not Area 51. If they couldn't make the set look like Area 51, why couldn't they have just had this take place in a normal laboratory? Saying that it takes place in Area 51 and then just film at what appears to be just some random airport is just incredibly dumb, to be honest.
Now what? Check it out. Alien hardware.
Okay, how the hell did they get up and start speaking that quickly without being noticed? Are all the guards just deaf? So then Nick finds a cool-looking motorcycle that is somehow supposed to be alien hardware, even though it's literally just a normal motorcycle with a raptor head on it. How does that even look outer dimensional? In a show with extremely advanced spaceships, how does a quote-unquote cool-looking motorcycle look outer dimensional? Is that motorcycle design just completely impossible on Earth? So then Nick and Lind ride the motorcycle all the way back to the motel yet again. So then back at the motel, Nick starts arguing with Lind about him setting off the alarm. So then Nick starts talking to Jens and Nepal about how he thinks Lind is a sussy imposter who's actually working for Gorm. So then the scientist dude wraps a tinfoil hat around Euripides' head, because of course it would be a tinfoil hat considering that the main character of this show is a conspiracy nut. So then Euripides sees that he's being taken to the mutant biology room, and fearing that they are gonna remove his balls in there, he brings up his staff to distract the scientist. Meanwhile, back in the motel room, Nepal and Jens are tinkering with electronics to, I guess, cobble together some crazy electronic device that is gonna magically give them the solution to their problem.
We gotta think of something. They could be luring Euripides into a pickle jar by now.
I just scored the plans to the base.
Nice. Jens got in their computers and got those hours ago.
With the alarm system plans and guard rotation schedules?
No! I wasn't able to access those.
Where did you get those?
You're the leader, you tell me. How did I get those? Okay, I've got it all figured out. First, I will access this junction box here between guard shifts and disable the laser grid. Then Jens, you'll tap into the base mainframe and shut down the pressure sensors. Nick, you'll slip through the time sweep of the motion detectors while
I'll cut the power. Nepal, you get the egg while I help Euripides escape. And then we'll...
Hey! I've got a plan here that'll work.
Great. Just don't expect us to rescue you, too.
What? You're the one who set off the alarms, remember?
Why should we use your plan?
Because it will work.
Fine. We'll do it.
Good.
For Euripides.
Good.
Okay, so something I don't get is, if Lind doesn't want to be a part of Nick's plan, why doesn't she leave and do the mission on her own? Why does she keep coming back to Nick and the gang if she doesn't want to work with them? Why is she even trying to save Euripides anyway? I thought her whole thing was that she wanted to save Galidor on her own. So then it cuts to Nick at Area 51, next to a breaker box that he shuts off by spamming a bunch of random numbers into it, because that's how that works, I guess. He continues running through the hallway until these green lasers appear out of nowhere on the floor that definitely look real. So then after checking the time to see when the guard is gonna leave, he runs into the room where Euripides is being held. So then we cut back to the big garage room from earlier. Euripides is showing the scientist his staff until Lind pulls up out of nowhere and starts attacking the scientist. So then Lind goes into the building to look for Nick and starts being chased by one of the guards. But then she's cornered by one of the guards and they begin arresting her.
Hands above your head.
I thought you could use a hand.
Thanks, Nick. You saved me back there. Did you get that?
where you left it. Thought you might need a little help without it.
Double thanks.
Yeah, well, I owed you from before. Guess now we're even? Look, I want to do things my way, you want to do things your way. But so far, we're both looking stupid.
Yeah?
So maybe it's time we called a truce, tried working together.
For now.
For now.
So then it cuts back to where Euripides is, and we see that Nepal has been captured by the Area 51 people. So then Nick and Lind come back to the entrance of Area 51 with the Raptor motorcycle. So then it cuts back to Nepal. He escapes from his cage by running around and then ramming into the door. And then him and Euripides Glinch, and holy mother of God, the results are absolutely horrific.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
So then everybody reconvenes in the egg and they make their escape, and that's where the episode ends. Honestly, this episode wasn't as bad as the previous episode. And for the first time in a while, the writers managed to write an episode where the ending doesn't immediately destroy the episode. Incredible. But what bothers me about this episode is Lind's motivations as a character. I don't understand why Lind even cared about Euripides to begin with. And because of that, it makes it hard to understand why she is trying to save him while being so clearly against his group to begin with. Her arc in this episode is just downright confusing to understand as a result. Other than that, and the fact that the place they're at looks nothing like Area 51, despite the episode trying to make us think that it's Area 51, this episode isn't that bad, at least in comparison to the previous episodes.
This is going to be brief, because recalling the past is, well, a clip show episode. And let's not beat around the bush, which is made of Galidor parts for some reason. This episode was only made to fulfill the 26 episode quota that LEGO mandated, and to save money, because all you really need to do to make one of these is recycle pre-existing footage and make a small amount of original footage to tie the clips together, and voila, you got yourself a clip show episode. And if there's one bit of praise that I'm willing to muster, is at least as a good recap of the series before we get into the 2-part finale, I guess. But at the same time, it's just a low-effort clip show episode. The only real thing that's left to say is a brief little synopsis on it. Okay, so basically, Nick and Lane, I forgot her name, have a conversation, and a bunch of clips disguised as flashbacks that somewhat correlate to what they're saying plays, repeat that cycle for 18 minutes, then a LEGO comes back because something about friendship or romance, I don't know, don't care, and then the gang leaves Earth to stop Gorm, the end. And I got nothing else to say other than, let's see the 2-part finale, shall we?
So the next episode is titled The Gates of Galidor Part 1. It's important to note that these are the last 2 episodes of the entire series. Finally, I'm about to be done with this god-awful show. The episode starts with the gang flying to Galidor, as they have finally assembled the key to the kingdom of Galidor. However, when they land, the area they land in looks suspiciously familiar to where they were in the first few episodes. Then the key begins vibrating and making a strange noise. Nick then places the key down and it projects a hologram apparently showing the gates of Galidor. Euripides claims he knows where the gates of Galidor are, but then all of a sudden, California, one of the orange dudes from the second episode, pulls up and begins teleporting in and out of existence. Then he teleports behind Nepal and grabs him by the neck and kidnaps him. So then Nick glinches and they wait for California to pull up again. He steals Euripides' staff and then teleports away again before Nick can blast him.
He's still around! I know it!
I don't think so.
Stay away from me! You forced a glitch on me! Give me my hand back!
Keep away from him, Jens!
Okay, why is Nick not firing? He has a perfect opportunity to do so, bro. Just take your shot already.
Look, we can't fight him. We have to get to the gates. Which way, Euripides?
That way, I think.
What about Nepal and Allegra? We can't just wait! Where are you going? Ah!
Okay, bro. You had the perfect opportunity to fire at California, and you didn't, so I don't know why you're crying about it as if you didn't have an opportunity to save Allegra. So then we see that Gorm and Nepal are chained up in the middle of the forest. Couldn't California have just taken them to Keck or something? Why just keep them chained up in the forest? So then we see that Euripides is guiding the rest of the gang to the gates of Galidor, but then California pulls up yet again and kidnaps him as well. So then Lind pulls Nick ahead and they reach a large cliff blocking their way. They realize they can't climb it, and then Nick notices a small tunnel through the cliff.
Let's see. Gorm would very much like to have you next.
Take me.
Soon enough.
Okay, what was the point of California stealing Jens's arm? If he's not gonna use its stretching ability to grab anyone, then what purpose does having Jens's arm serve? Anyways, they run into the tunnel, but then before they can run through to the other side, a bunch of rubble falls, blocking their way through to the other side of the cliff. So then it's revealed that it was Gorm who caused the rubble to fall, and he tells California to keep them inside the cliff. So then Jens starts freaking out about the ripple effects on the ground, and eventually Nick and Lind notice. So then it cuts back to Gorm, who's still trying to get information out of Allegra, Euripides, and Nepal. So then we cut back to the cave, and then some weird scorpion-looking thing grabs Nick and tries to pull him through the wall. We then see that Gorm is playing the audio of what is currently happening, which causes Euripides to snap. Then in the cave, we see Nick glinch his hand into a flashlight and shine it in the scorpion's eye, which scares it off because of course it does. So then Gorm summons the scorpion to where Allegra and the gang are. This causes Euripides to snap and tell Gorm that the gates are invisible. So then back in the cave, they find the entrance to the ship, but not before the scorpion starts chasing them again. So then Jens opens the door to the ship just in time for them to get in before the scorpion attacks them.
That was close. Did it get in?
No, we're safe here. This thing's about as solid as it gets. This must be some kind of pilot house.
Okay, how do we get this thing to the gates before Gorm gets there?
Do I look like I'm wearing a captain's hat or something? I've never driven one of these things before, I don't know.
We got plenty of buttons we can start pushing.
Oh! What'd you do?
Static electricity, I think. Oh! I got it! It's like a nerve cell.
What?
Jens, we need electric charge.
So I guess that causes the thing to start moving again? Oh, okay then. So then, once the drill dozer stops moving, they follow the map, which leads them to a wall, which just morphs into the shape of a map. So that's convenient, I guess. So then he puts the map into the gate, which starts opening it up, but then he mentions that Allegra, Euripides, and Nepal aren't there. And then, what do you know, right as he says that, Allegra, Euripides, and Nepal just appear out of the blue. And then Gorm appears for the final confrontation of the episode.
Don't worry. You'll never open them.
No more nice robot! I want my hand back! Go, everybody!
Get them!
Let me go!
You'll stay.
Well, I guess that wasn't too bad. The stakes were pretty high, which kept the episode kinda interesting. However, this episode was still plagued with the same plot contrivances that have plagued previous episodes, such as Nick, Euripides, and Allegra teleporting to where Nick is out of nowhere. So much for having to save them. But other than that, I don't really know what to say about this episode. It's just sort of meh. Well, so that was Galidor, Defenders of the Outer Dimension. So what do I think after watching the entire show? Well, to be honest, my opinion hasn't really changed much from when I first started watching the series. The plot is terrible. This is because the plot lines of each individual episode are incredibly uninteresting. To explain why this is, I think we should discuss Bionicle first. One thing you can't deny about Generation 1 of Bionicle is that the story and world that it took place in was meticulously crafted. Not only was the content of the story extremely detailed, but almost all of it clicked together in a way that made sense by the end of the series, much like the toys themselves. The best example of this is with one of the most iconic moments of the series, the awakening of Mata Nui. You see, in the 2008 story arc, it was revealed that the whole universe in which the show had taken place in up until that point was actually inside a giant robot, that robot being the Great Spirit Mata Nui, in which the entire toy line had been based around. This plot twist worked so well for a few reasons. Firstly, if you look back at the storylines in G1 prior to this plot twist, you will find that there were many clues and signs cleverly hidden throughout the series that hinted towards the reveal. And it also works so well because it answers many of the questions that had gone unanswered throughout the entire storyline.
I can't think of many things this big. Maybe in scale, but not ideas. The Great Spirit was a giant robot, crashed on this world, his automated camouflage kicking in, creating the island to hide his face even as he slept. Other locations like Metronui, contained in spherical chambers that adjusted gravity to keep things stable. A world within a world. The Matoran, Toa, Borok, and all, nanomachines. His cells, the temple from the beginning, a simple maintenance hatch. The Matoran tongue, a programming language. Code. Makuda's curse, a computer virus. The sleep, a critical system failure. This thing was 40 million feet tall. An object that big touching down would sterilize Earth. The lighting really makes this scene for me. Parts of him moving hundreds of miles away from us in seconds. All the moisture in the air making him hard to see because he's so far away. Chunks of continental shelf anywhere from the size of Maine to Texas sliding off his body, falling so slowly. Matanui, the Great Spirit robot, was built on a world destroyed by war. His mission? Travel the universe and study other worlds, their burgeoning cultures, learn how to avoid the conflicts that tore the old world apart, and when he was ready, rebuild the old world, good as new. On his way back, he succumbed to Makuda's virus and landed on this fragment of the old world, Aqua Magna. Yep, my old username. And this wasn't pulled out of nowhere. This was planned from the beginning, originally set to be revealed in the first year. There were so many hints throughout the story, right under our noses. They were rubbing it in our faces the whole time. Even in 2001, you had miners digging this incredible shaft and at the bottom hitting a layer they couldn't break through, described as partly organic, a mineral composition similar to a crab shell. We were gazing upon his face, touching his skin. Makuda's lair, the Borok nests, every time the Toa went underground, they were inside the giant robot. And this is where the name finally makes sense. Biological Chronicle. It was all about a body that was sick and needed to be saved from within, inspired when Christian Faber, the magnanimous art director behind so much of this amazing imagery, required daily medication for a brain tumor and thought, what if inside each pill was a tiny soldier? I know I keep saying this, but I can't adequately express what a mind blow this was, and how cathartic it was to finally see the big guy wake up. All the fighting, all the doom and gloom, it didn't matter anymore. After 8 long years, our heroes had finally done it. And just like that,
it recontextualized the entire series in a way that not only made sense and answered many questions, but also made the series more interesting as a result. However, none of this can be said for Galidor. This show's plot has seemingly little to no planning. This is because every episode is just the characters traveling to different parts of the dimension, meeting new characters, or encountering some wacky problem. However, unlike in Bionicle, these new characters and issues are immediately forgotten about by the end of the episode. Like I've said previously, it seems like the writers are just coming up with every plot point down to the moment it pops into their head, and then moving on to the next one without a second thought. And then when they reach the end of the episode, they come up with some really insane excuse for how the characters make it out unscathed in the end. This way of writing makes it hard to truly get invested into the series. It feels like none of the events in the show truly matter in the grand scheme of things, so because of that, the show ends up not mattering. Now, in all fairness, it is a little unfair to compare Bionicle to Galidor. This is because Bionicle was able to finish its story and Galidor wasn't. However, I can prove through one simple fact that we weren't missing out on much. So you remember at the beginning of the video, like 5 years ago, when I brought up why Nick's full name is Nick Bluetooth? And as for the characters, they aren't much better. Firstly, you have the main protagonist named Nick Bluetooth. Yes, his last name is actually Bluetooth. Now you may think that the decision to have the main character's last name be Bluetooth is incredibly stupid. Which you'd be correct, but as it turns out, the character was named after a Danish king by the name of Harold Bluetooth. Keep that in mind, as it will be very important later. Yeah, well, what I didn't tell you is Harold's full name. His full name was Harold Bluetooth Gormson. Yes, Gormson as in Gorm. Oh my God! So if you were wondering if the show was gonna have a plot twist that would make everything make sense like how Bionicle did, well, there it is. The answer has been hiding in plain sight this whole time, and it's just as dumb as you think it is. It likely would have been revealed that Nick's father was actually Gorm the whole time, as if this show wasn't ripping off Star Wars enough, as if this show wasn't already predictable enough. And this is part of one of the main problems with this show. At its core, it's just a generic space adventure show, and there's not much to differentiate Galidor from any other show in the genre. And as for the characters, yeah, they suck. Most of them are either bland and generic or extremely annoying, and none of them really change as characters throughout the series. Okay, well, scratch that. I guess there's one character who significantly changes. That character is Nepal. Nepal goes from aggressive warrior to complete smooth brain by the end of the series. I guess at one point they just decided to make Nepal the idiotic comedic relief because, you know, that's what this show needed. And because of that, his defining character traits by the end of the series just became idiotic and irritating. And aside from that, no one else really changes that much. I guess Nick kind of becomes a more capable leader by the end of the show. Allegra kind of stops whining about going home, I guess. Euripides kind of became a bit dumber like Nepal, but they kind of dropped that fairly quickly. And Jens does not change in the slightest. And also, the show has very little stakes. I know that LEGO didn't want to get violent in their early attempts at storytelling, but Galidor plays it so safe that it makes it even harder to get invested when you know that Gorm isn't really gonna harm them at any point. They're gonna make it out without a single scratch on their bodies. I'm not saying they had to go all madness combat for there to be any stakes, but a little bit of violence would have gone a long way in having actual stakes. Galidor fails on some of the basic fundamentals of storytelling due to how the plot points don't make any sense and how little continuity there is between the episodes, and the characters are about as bland as a brick wall. And I know this goes without saying, but the visual effects are just awful, even for 2002 standards. If there's anything positive I could say about this show, it would be that there are some plot points that did have potential to be interesting, if expanded upon. But I don't even think that counts. Almost everything has potential to be good, so saying that there were things that had potential doesn't really mean much. The pieces were there, but when it came time to assemble them into a set, it just completely fell apart. So because of all of this, Galidor as a show fails on just about every level. And when you factor in all of this, it's no surprise why the show and brand absolutely failed. The show failed likely due to its poor quality, and the toys failed likely due to the fact that they were made by LEGO was somewhat hidden in marketing and in the packaging of the toys themselves. So to most people, they saw the Galidor toys as these weird, cheap, dismembered toys, and they likely thought the same of the show itself. After Galidor failed, the LEGO company almost went bankrupt as a result due to the fact that the Galidor show was one of the most expensive projects in the company's history. Fortunately, around the same time, Bionicle was also doing very successfully, and in time was able to lift LEGO out of the financial troubles that they were in. While you can see some of Galidor's dumb storytelling in some parts of early Bionicle, such as in Mask of Light when Takanuva brute forces Jowler back into existence, it was nowhere near as prevalent in Bionicle as it was in Galidor. And while LEGO occasionally references Galidor every once in a while, it's unlikely that Nick Bluetooth and his friends will be making a comeback anytime soon. And that's probably for the better, because Galidor, Defenders of the Outer Dimension, is not a well-constructed set. Rather, it is a complete mess of pieces.